convened as of 5:33 p.m. I'd respectfully ask everyone present to remain silent and those joining online to remain muted unless you're recognized to speak. Thank you all for joining us this evening. As the board has moved to in-person meetings for our monthly gatherings, please note that committee meetings of the RTD Board of Directors will still be held remotely via Zoom and will be audio and video recorded. The meeting recordings, along with the unofficial minutes of the meetings, will be posted as soon as possible on the board's website. A live stream of this meeting is also available via RTD's YouTube page. During tonight's meeting, we're also providing Communication Access Real-Time Translation, also known as CART. Anybody who'd like to access this service should send an email to the RTD board office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com, and a link will be provided. Additionally, the CART transcript can be automatically translated for anyone who'd like to follow this meeting in Spanish. I will start tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me, directors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll now move forward to our land acknowledgement. The RTD Board of Directors acknowledges that the land on which our buses and trains operates is the traditional territory of the Ute, Cheyenne, Arapaho, and other contemporary tribal nations that have historically been tied to these lands. We honor indigenous elders who have traveled, inhabited, and stewarded these mountains, hills, and plains throughout generations. May this acknowledgement demonstrate a commitment to working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of inequity of the Native and all historically oppressed people, and recognize their current and future contributions in the district as we move forward. I'll now call the roll. Treasurer Banker.
Present.
Director Busick.
Here.
Director Chandler.
Present.
Director Geisinger.
Here.
Director Guchenritter.
Here.
Director Guzman.
Present.
Director Harwick.
Yep.
Director Larson.
Yes.
Secretary Nicholson.
I am here.
First Vice Chair O'Keefe. Present. Director Pagliari.
Present.
Director Risha. Second Vice Chair Whitmore.
Present.
I have 13 directors present and 1 absent, and we do have a quorum. I'll now move forward to our statement of employee appreciation. The Regional Transportation District Board of Directors recognizes that RTD's dedicated workforce is the lifeblood of the agency. Every day, RTD employees do extraordinary things to make lives better through connections. We honor their work of delivering transit excellence, service, and value to the community, especially demonstrated during difficult and stressful moments. May the actions taken by the Board of Directors demonstrate our profound gratitude, commitment, and support for all our RTD employees. Thank you all. One of the greatest honors of serving on this board is the privilege and recognizing and celebrating of RTD's retirees. Today we pause to express our heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated employees who have given their time, talent, and unwavering commitment to this agency. Their service has strengthened our mission and created a lasting impact on the communities we serve. It is with deep appreciation that I now read the names of those who have retired since September. Edward D. Collies, Supervisor, Facilities Maintenance, 31 years. Daryl Herder, Parts Clerk, Warehouse, 18 years. James Edwin Newman, Electronic Technician, Revenue Systems, 30 years. Phil Asaro, Lead Street Supervisor, 28 years. David T. Montgomery, Field Supervisor, Light Rail, 22 years. Ron Pfeiffer, General Repair Certified Mechanic, 26 years. Brenda Richardson, Bus Operator, 25 years. Although our retirees are not able to join us this evening, we do extend our sincere thanks for their many years of hard work and commitment to RTDD. For their contributions will be remembered and valued for the many years to come. We'll give a round of applause. Now it's time for special recognition. One of our most exciting annual agenda items, we have a lengthy list of employees who have been being recognized for their participation and placement in RTD's rodeos. We are recognizing RTD's snowplow, rail, and bus rodeo winners, including participants in the National Snowplow Rodeo. To assist the board in recognizing our rodeo winners, I'd like Deputy CEO Angel Pena and Chief Operating Officer Patrick Preuser to assist in the recognition of this year's top competitors. I ask that names and places of the top competitors be read. Winners that are in attendance, please stand to be recognized. As your name is called, please remain standing until all names have been read for the rodeo event you participated in. Audience, please hold your applause until all names have been read for a given rodeo event. Winners who are in attendance are also more than welcome and invited to take a few photos with myself, our GM CEO, Deputy CEO Pena, and CEO Preuser for other staff members after all top competitors across all competitions have been recognized. First up, we do have our rail snowplow winners. And Mr. Pena, I'll give the floor to you to recognize our 2025 snowplow winners, and you're free from then to hand the floor over to COO Preuser to recognize our rail and bus rodeo competitors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair Bouquet. I had the distinct honor this year to recognize our snowplow rodeo winners, many who have joined us here today, so this is exciting. Each year, many of our snowplow operators compete for recognition as RTD's best, as well as an opportunity to represent RTD at national competitions. This year's snowplow rodeo was held on Friday, August 22nd. Directors are always welcome to come to this event. As a matter of fact, I believe that we had seen Director Guzman in attendance in this past 2 years, so thank you for that. And the snowplow rodeo event puts driver skills to the test. Snowplow operators navigate a challenging obstacle course, receiving scores from a judging panel based on precision and time. In addition, teams complete a written test and perform a snowplow truck inspection. But enough of that. I am now going to move on recognizing our snowplow rodeo winners. But first, like Chair Bouquet said, I would like to recognize and by order, and I will start first with the snowplow single axle competitors. For those here in attendance, please stand to be recognized as your name is called. And I ask that we hold our applause until the end of I announce all the competition winners that we have been recognized, okay? So, awarded first place, John Prather and Cody Reese. Receiving second place, Mario Hernandez and Robert Quinn. And taking third place, Kyle Hendricks and Jonathan Richards. Next, I would like to recognize the tandem axle competition winners. Again, for those in attendance, please stand up to be recognized as your name is called, and I ask the audience help applause until I call all of them. Receiving first place, James Mohan and Daniel Guerrero. Taking second place, David Wade and Mike Mestes, and awarded third place, Zach Lemery and Manuel Padilla Ortiz. As I mentioned at the outset, those competitors who win our RTD competition often have the opportunity to represent us at the corresponding national competition. This year, RTD was incredibly well represented in the 2025 American Public Works Association National Snow Rodeo, which was held in Loveland in Colorado from September 24th through September 26th. I'm going to recognize both our single axle and tandem axle competitors in that event, and I ask that we hold our applause until I have been recognized everyone. So in the national single axle competition, RTD placed the following teams. Coming at the 22nd place, John Prather and Corey Reese. Receiving 45th place, James Mohan and Daniel Guerrero. In the national tandem axle competition, RTD placed the following teams. Awarded 49th place, James Mohan and Daniel Guerrero. And taking first place, John Prather and Corey Reese. Please join me in a round of applause for our national snowplow competitors and our national champions, John Prather and Corey Reese. Congratulations all, and I will now move and hand the floor over to our Chief Operating Officer, Preußer, to recognize top competitors from the 2025 Rail and Bus Rodeos.
All right, thank you very much, Deputy CEO Pena. It's an honor to be part of this team and to recognize our rail and bus competitors for the talent that they showcased during the rodeo competitions. Many of them have joined us this evening, so it's wonderful to see you all here today. As with every year, many of our RT employees and contracted team members compete to demonstrate their skills and represent RTD at the international competition for the bus rodeo, which will take place during May of next year in Salt Lake City. This year, we held the rail rodeo on Saturday, August 16th, and the bus rodeo on Saturday, September 24th. Directors, you are always welcome to join, as these competitions celebrate our employees' skill, teamwork, and our efforts to make lives better through connections. If you haven't attended before, it's an experience you won't want to miss. Guarantee you that. I'm going to start by describing the rail competition and then moving right into recognizing our rodeo champions. So this is a competition for rail operators and technicians designed to test their skill in safety operations, equipment handling, customer service, and it's all simulated under what they experience each and every day. Competitors may be 1 or 2 person teams. The events include safety and rules assessments, inspections and maintenance task challenges, and a live train operation exercise. The operators are judged on precision train operation, adherence to safety and signaling procedures, and braking acceleration. Maintenance crews are judged on their ability to diagnose and repair equipment or system faults under time constraints. It simulates practical conditions that they face each and every day. This rodeo ultimately validates operator and technician readiness, reinforces safety standards, and encourages teamwork and professionalism, and also serves as a benchmark for operational excellence across peer agencies. So I'll now recognize our light rail operators. For those in attendance, please stand to be recognized as your name is called. I ask that we hold applause until all the rodeo champions have been recognized. So I'm going to start with third place, Jeremy Osborne. Second place, Jason Buckley. And first place, Robert Dennis. Round of applause. Now I want to recognize our light rail technicians. For those in attendance, again, please stand to be recognized as your name is called, and if we could hold applause until all champions are recognized. So for the light rail technicians, third place, Marvin Bauer. Second place, Mike Hubbard. And first place, Mark Millard. Now I'm going to describe the bus competition and recognize our rodeo winners. This is a driving and maintenance competition for our bus operators and technicians, a rodeo on wheels, if you will. It combines written tests, vehicle inspections, maintenance challenges, again, under time constraints. The operators are judged on precision driving. Some of the maneuvers include serpentines, rear clearance, backups, tight turns, all the things you do in your vehicle, but if you could imagine trying to do that in a much larger vehicle, right? Maintenance crews are judged on their ability to diagnose and repair equipment or system faults. Again, the rodeo enhances safety and operational readiness, boosts morale and the camaraderie among staff, and it highlights all of the professionalism, and we're proud to be supportive of these competitions. So I'll start with the RTD Fixed Route Bus Veterans. For those in attendance, please stand to be recognized, again, as your name is called, and if we could hold applause to the very end. For the Fixed Route Veterans category, we have third place, Jimmy Romero. Second place, Austin Ward. First place, Craig Vasbender. And just a reminder, Craig's going to be the one that represents us at the International Bus Rodeo in May of next year. So we're excited to see how well he does. I've already had some discussions with peers at other agencies, and they know what we're bringing, so I think they're a little nervous. I'm going to move on to the rookie category. For those in attendance, please stand and again hold applause. Third place, we have Ryan Sullivan. Second place, Catalina Valdez. And first place, J.D. Quintero. Now I'm going to move on to our veteran contracted team members. For our veteran contracted services, third place, Ronnie Champino. Second place, A.B. Chan. First place, Jose Chan. And for those of you that don't know, there's a healthy competition going on between these two, in addition to what happens at the bus rodeo. It's always, you never know who's going to take it the next year. So now we want to recognize our small bus paratransit competitors. I'm going to start with our third place, Miguel Ayala. Second place, Belle Gaffer. And then first place, Michael Evans. Now we're going to recognize our maintenance teams. We're going to start with our RTD maintenance team. For second place, we have Thomas Cervantes, Justin Reckler, and Ivan Ortiz. And then for first place, we have Ben Carroll, Marcos Carrillo, and Dan Urich. Round of applause. And again, our first place maintenance team is also going to the international competition to represent us. Now we're moving on to the contracted maintenance team members. I'm going to start with third place. We have Mamouche Wubi, Hassan Arkawazi, and Dawit Ta Dasi for third place. Second place, we have Corey Magnan, Jean Mendoza, and Kurt Seranawalas. And then for first place, we have Lance Newcomb, Juan Hinojos, and then Travis Gothard. And our final competitors include members from our service and cleaning teams. For third place, we have Isaiah Rodriguez. For second place, we had Adelita Andazola Santos. And then for first place, we had Mark Bial Saki. Sheriff Kay, that concludes the recognition for this year's rodeo competition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, COO. Thank you again to all our rodeo participants and winners from the 2025 rodeo cycle. I would like all of us to now join in one more round of applause for everything that you've accomplished. So we will now stand for a brief recess while we capture some photos with this year's winners. So we'll take a quick little break. Thank you, guys. That's rare.
All right, folks. So photos are optional, but obviously if you want them, you're welcome to join. And for those competitors who are here in person, we're just going to go in the order in which the top competitors were announced. And so we're going to start with our snowplow teams. If any of the snowplow teams, Corey Reese and John Prather, Mario Hernandez and Robert Quinn, James Mohan, Daniel Guerrero, and Mike Mestas, if you guys want to come forward here to the front, we will get photos started for you all. And bring your plaques too so they can be in the photos. And James and Corey, you'll just have to pick just one plaque, just one. If you guys want to. Yeah, we're about to start. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can absolutely get them in there. We'll do an official one too. All right, we're going to go a little bit out of order because it's a school night, so we're going to have Adelita come next so she can get her kids home for school. All right. Next, we're going to go with our light rail folks, light rail operators. All right, where is our champion light rail mechanic? I think he was here. Mike, yep, I see you there, Mike. Congratulations again, Robert. 2 years in a row I've seen you here. Congrats. Well done.
Just got back to the U.S. for Easter.
Oh, nice.
Monday I'm going back to our country.
That's gonna be a blast, Robert. All right, next we are gonna move on to our bus rodeo competitors. We're gonna start with the RTD veteran category. Craig, if you're here, Craig. Craig? All right, after Craig, we'll invite the RTD rookies. So JD and Ryan, I believe, are here if you guys want to come forward. All right, JD and Ryan, you guys are up. All right, next contracted services. I think those guys are definitely here. I think they're right back here. Jose and AB, Ronnie. Oh, sure. And you want to get a photo of these guys, right? Okay. If you're doing with your phones, we'll cue you guys up so that people know where to look. Okay, and we got a couple phone photos, so we'll go first here, and then we'll go to you next, sir. Did you want to get one, sir? You're good? All right. All right, next we'll do small bus paratransit. So Belle and Miguel, if you are here. All right, I do believe we have at least some folks from our contracted services maintenance teams here. I think at least Lance is here, right? Yeah. Yeah. All right, on this one we're gonna do the Stewart's camera, and then we have another phone photo for this one too. Okay. Contracted services, maintenance teams. Oh, I think. Yeah. All right, last call for photos. If I missed anybody or anybody wants an additional photo, yes. All right, anybody else? Going once. Going twice. Last call for photos. Okay, that's a wrap. Nice work.
How did we do time-wise? Because that was a lot. So I was trying to present too fast.
All right, folks, let's try to make our way back. All right. Thank you all for your patience in that break. And again, congratulations to our winners. That's really cool to see. We're moving on to our public participation. Public participation, which will be open to anyone who'd like to address this board. We will have both in-person and remote attendees. In-person comments will go first, followed by those who are participating remotely. For those attending in person, please come to the podium when your name is called. If you have not already signed up to speak and like to do so, please approach the podium when I call for any additional speakers, which will be after our remote attendees, if there are any. For those attending virtually, if you wish to speak and have not already done so, please raise your virtual hand or press star 9 on your phone. Staff will unmute you when it is your turn to speak. If you're dialed in, press star 6 to toggle your mute settings. Please bear in mind that by participating in this process, you're being recorded. If you do not wish to be recorded, then your comments will have to be submitted via writing. If any speaker has documentation or reference materials for this board, or if any member of the public would like to submit written comments or would like to be contacted regarding their public comment, please email the board office at rtd.directors@rtd-denver.com. Speakers should begin their remarks by stating their names and will have up to 3 minutes to speak. First speaker is Jack Rosenthal.
Good evening, directors. This is Jack Rosenthal. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak tonight. Tonight I'll be speaking in support of a few different action items on the packet tonight. Number one, we have the TVM modernization. I'd love to absolutely support that today on the Flatiron Flyer on the way here. You know, the TVMs are supposed to make things a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, but a passenger got on having to explain to the operator how the machine was not working, and the operator just pay on the thing on the bus, and it delayed the bus just because of the TVMs, and often I find that they're broken and not working anyway, and so, you know, I would fully support the system that's now going to be made redundant by tap to pay. And so ask for your support on that tonight, as well as let's make sure that we get some good advertising out about tap to pay availability now that we've launched that. Secondly, I'd like to support Director Chandler and Director Pagliari's action item tonight on the shared commitments between RTD and the customer. I know it seems like it might be a little bit redundant to the customer code of conduct, but you know what is not visible to the customer is what RTD's commitments are. And making sure that, you know, customers know that this is an agency that can trust and here's what they're going to do for you is really valuable. And then lastly, I took a look at the comments submitted about the D-line service change. And so, you know, having the light rail maintenance has allowed us to really explore some new routing or some old routing, turn the D line into the C line. And of the 90 written comments submitted about the D line service change, 43 of them very clearly expressed that they preferred the routing to Union Station. If you discount all the junk comments that are in there, that is greater than 50% of the comments would prefer Union Station routing for the D line as opposed to the downtown loop. Now, I think both need to be served, but let's explore an opportunity to see if we can bring back the C line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Our next speaker is James Flatham.
Good evening, Chair Bouquet. Good evening, RTD Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is James Flatham. I'm here with Greater Denver Transit. So a number of things were covered by us. We submitted a letter to you guys this afternoon about the importance of really decisively addressing some of the revenue opportunities that RTD has. Lots of really important pieces are out there with this budget. We've had a lot of questions. So first, I just want to say thank you to staff. Thank you to the CFO's office in particular for providing us with some really great information. We really appreciate that. My comment tonight is going to be really quick. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I just want to say thank you sincerely for a couple of things. The agency has made huge progress this last month, and I think it's really important to recognize that progress. First, with the advent of tap to pay. Tap and pay is something that GDT as a whole is extremely excited about. This is something that we believe is going to make the system vastly more accessible to people who are trying it for the first time, out-of-towners in particular. So we congratulate the agency. This is progress, and we are so thrilled to see it. So congratulations to you, and thank you for all of those who played a part in it. The second is the holiday train, the special holiday service in central downtown on the Welton corridor and down to I-25 and Broadway. This is the kind of experimentation that we are so excited about, right? There is a palpable change in the air that I think a lot of people are noticing, right? That the agency is beginning to experiment right now. And this we recognize was a huge collaboration. There's a huge role that was being played by the service planning and scheduling team, a huge role by the union in how having this come together for the period of time, a very short period of time. But what we hope this is the beginning of an experimentation being applied, right? Where there are opportunities to tweak the services incrementally with the resources RTD has to make the services work better for the rider. And this is huge. So I just want to say thank you to all of the members of RTD staff, the union, everybody who came together to make this happen. So at the end of the day, right, GDT, we've been called by former director Kate Williams, RTD's greatest champions and fiercest critics, right? And I think for us, it's important that we're trying to be both. And in this case, RTD's been making some really great progress. We still face some really huge challenges as well, and we can talk about those more in the new year. But just wanted to leave this year the last opportunity for me to speak to you guys in person. Thank you guys for everything you're doing. This public service is so important, and it is so greatly valued by all of us at Greater Denver Transit. So thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Our next speaker is Christina Iyer.
Hi, my name is Christina Ayer. This is the first time I'm approaching the board. I live in La Alma Lincoln Park, a block from the 10th and Osage light rail station, and about 60 feet from the tracks there. And I came to talk to you about an idea that seems to be catching fire in the neighborhood. The problem is that those tracks are a fence that separates us from Burnham Yard with all that new development that's going to be happening with the Broncos. And there's been a couple of ideas about putting some crossings at grade or whatever, but essentially what that track does with the razor wire on top is separate our community, our neighborhood, from what's going to happen economically, in terms of resources, in terms of bike paths, in terms of other things. At-grade crossings have been proposed, but one of them is literally 50 feet from my front door, and 147 trains a day going past that crossing would be my own personal nightmare. But I don't think it really serves the community. Those crossings, the one at 13th, aren't exactly safe. And so there's an idea that, like I said, I think has been catching fire. It seems to be sparking the imagination of the community. What would happen if that part of the light rail from maybe 13th all the way down to 8th or something was underground, with an underground station at 10th and Osage? It would be a continuous community from the existing La Alma Lincoln Park to whatever happens in that development. It would provide me and my neighbors access to the resources and the things that are going to be available there, whether they're economic opportunities, whether they're daycares, whether, you know, it's just the parks and the bike paths and things like that. It's a genuine opportunity, and frankly, it's a big dirt yard. There's nothing there, and so it would be possible to develop something like that without actually disrupting existing service, because it could be built around the existing service, and when the time came, it could be put into service. And it's not like the Broncos don't have some kind of interest in the same thing happening, because all the things they talk about in terms of serving the community are enhanced by this kind of a plan that actually brings us together, instead of having this fence that literally separates us. And so I just wanted to come and share my experience with talking with my neighbors, having been at the launch, the kickoff for the Burnham Yard project, that this is something that a lot of people seem excited about. And I know it seems like a big project, and I know it will be, and enormously expensive, but it's something that if we come together as a community with the Broncos, with RTD, together now, it's maybe something that we can make happen that would serve the entire community in the long term. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christina. Our next speaker is Joel Noble.
Good evening, Chair, Board. My name is Joel Noble. I've been involved in transportation and land use advocacy for many years here in Denver. Very excited to hear that the Broncos are looking to move to Burnham Yard, but I have two requests of the board, very compatible with my neighbor Christina's comments. The first is, in my long time serving as the chair of Interneighborhood Cooperation's Transportation Committee, I had many opportunities to work with Eric Miller, who used to be a rail planner here at RTD. And he emphasized to me that long-term RTD really needs another rail going between I-25 and Broadway up to Colfax. And there's some understanding, I don't know if it's a memorandum of understanding or memorialized in any way, but there's been some understanding between RTD and the state that should it ever become possible to get 50 feet of right-of-way, your operations would be greatly enhanced by having that additional rail. It would help with maintenance, it would help with the higher frequencies that you had pre-pandemic and hopefully come back to. So my number one ask is, through this effort of looking at Burnham Yard, push for what you need in terms of additional rail through that segment. All of the rail lines to the south in Denver that are light rail go through that area, and as Eric said to me repeatedly, that is the bottleneck. So push for what you need. The second thing is, just say no to at-grade crossings. I looked very, very carefully at the PDF produced by the Broncos for their large development review, and they acknowledge that an existing light rail at-grade crossing is very dangerous and something needs to be done, and they proposed something going over under something else. But in the same document, they recommended many more at-grade crossings. This is an exciting project. There's going to be a lot of change to this initial vision, but I hope that RTD as an agency says no to additional light rail at-grade crossings. They're dangerous. You just have to revisit them later to try to deal with the safety issues. And again, all of your light rail to the south passes through this section. Each one of those at-grade crossings is another opportunity for not only danger, but disruption to all the service. So among other things, if you go into this exciting planning session with those two things in mind, you may end up coming around to very bold ideas, as my colleague Christina just talked about, for a three-dimensional view of what could happen. As long as you get what you need in terms of additional rail and don't do any more at-grade crossings, will be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Mr. Kroll, are there any speakers online?
Yes, we have three at this time. The first is Emmett Wainwright.
Emmett, you recognized?
Hello. Good evening, RTD. My name is Emmett Wainwright, and I joined this call today for three reasons. First, I wanted to comment about changes that were made last year to the 12 bus. Its schedule was changed so that it works better with connecting routes, including the A line. It shortened the transfer at 38th and Blake Station and made it so that a slight delay of the train, which happens often, wouldn't result in missing the 12 bus southbound. Optimizations like these do make a difference, and they are appreciated, so thank you. Second, I did want to reiterate what was mentioned earlier about reducing at-grade crossings. I think they are just ultimately potential causes for delays and other things, and safety concerns. So ideally, I know there's been talk about like the 8th Avenue Viaduct might become an at-grade crossing now. I hope that wouldn't be the case. Third, I wanted to talk about transit in the Santa Fe Arts District area. I recently moved to the area from Cap Hill, but I found the transit lacking compared to Cap Hill, which itself was so-so. The two closest routes to me are the 9 and the ART connector, but both run only hourly service, and the 9 doesn't have any evening service. There is also the 52 to the east, which runs 30-minute service, but is a little ways away, requires crossing Spear, and itself switches to hourly service later in the day. There is no eastbound service in the area. For as close to downtown and as dense as this area is becoming, the service is definitely lackluster. I believe the ART connector route is well designed, and I would love to see 15-minute service along it, potentially by consolidating adjacent routes. I'm someone who looks for opportunities to take RTD, but only if it's not a pain to do so. Hourly service or even half-hourly service is not great. Frequent, consistent service that runs late matters and makes taking OTD a far more viable option for myself and others, whether it's going to work, the airport, an Avs game, anything else. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out, and I hope you all have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you for your comments, Emmett. Mr. Kroll, our next speaker.
Yes, next we have Aaron Mole.
Aaron, you're recognized.
Thank you. My name is Aaron Mole, and I just wanted to thank you for keeping the Platte Valley Flex Ride open until May. My kids needed to get to school each day, and it'll help us greatly to have that service continue. If it's later decided to be discontinued, hopefully you can work with Denver to find a solution that doesn't leave out parts of the current service area. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for your comments, Aaron. Our next speaker, Mr. Kroll.
Yes, next we have Keith Brooks.
Keith, you're recognized.
Hello. You thought you'd be rid of me, but not this time. I wanted to speak on two things. Firstly, sorry about that truck running into the bridge by Yale Station. Can't in any way blame RTD from that. But I would like to point out that while there is still a long way to go in terms of service resilience, I was very pleasantly surprised to see that once some service was restored over the bridge, the bus bridges were not immediately canceled. I'd like to see that it's yes and, not either or. And people said those improv classes would never come in handy. The other thing I'd like to speak about is the holiday train, as many have spoken about already. You know when fall comes around and you can start buying apple cider in the stores again, and everyone's like, this is great. Why isn't this available year round? That's the holiday train. You're so close. ATU 1001 really came in clutch with this. Just once the holidays are over, just keep it. Call it the L, call it the D, call it the Wu-Tang Memorial Rail Service for all I care. But you really struck gold with this one. Just leave it. That's all for this time. Good night to all, and to all a good night.
And good night to you, Mr. Brooks. Mr. Kroll, any further online speakers?
There are no further online speakers. Oh, wait. What? As soon as I said that, Emma Griffin just popped up her hand.
Emma, you're recognized.
Hey, thanks for recognizing me. Yeah, my name is Emma Griffin. I'm a transit writer in District A and a co-lead for Greater Denver Transit. Like others have stated, I wanted to applaud RTD's decision to offer special service from I-25 and Broadway to 30th and Downing, aka the holiday train. I've ridden this new line multiple times already and cannot emphasize enough how useful it is. I would very strongly urge the board into looking into ways into offering permanent regional rail that connects 5 Points to other neighborhoods in Denver. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
Thank you for your comments, Emma. Mr. Kroll, are there any further speakers online?
There are no further speakers online, but we did have one additional speaker sign up in person.
Please approach the podium.
Hi, I'm Bob Diniger. As others have mentioned, this is a season for gratitude. But I'm here tonight on behalf of a friend, in fact, to all of us. Someone this agency and you on the board owe a great debt to. We all do. Yeah, that means gratitude would be appropriate. Some brief form of expression indicating that we appreciate all our friend has done for us. A little touch of class. We have people in this room who are paid large dollars to uphold RTD's image, to promote its value. Others who are paid little more than volunteers, elected to represent the transit dependent and everyone who pays sales tax within the agency's footprint. Instead of lifting their voices in gratitude for the hundreds of millions of dollars this friend's work brought to RTD, what do we hear? We hear crickets. With all of your feverish attention to social media, surely you're aware of the chorus of public voices expressing sorrow at the heartbreaking sudden loss of Senator Faith Winter and gratitude for her life as a courageous, seasoned legislator, loving mother, and relentless fighter for disability rights, transit equity, and working families. At your September board meeting, Senator Winter joined another chorus of voices, urging this board to listen to them. She said, "We need transparency, reliability, and equitable service for all in the RTD service area, including those with mobility challenges. This increased cost burden for access on demand patrons and reduced ride subsidies will harm our community. The reduced service hours proposed will further punish patrons of accessible transit services that have off-peak working hours or medical appointments. Many essential tasks are already burdensome for many who use access on demand services, and these proposed changes will add another layer of unfair challenges to these essential life activities. As a result, riders may have to quit jobs, miss vital services and medical appointments, or choose between basic needs in order to access freedom and movement across the region. As an elected official, Faith Winter packed a mighty wallop. She stood up to sexual harassment, refused to be disrespected by anyone, even powerful men who wanted her silenced. She may have been small in physical stature, but she had a quality that's apparently in short supply in public life and in this room: courage. Jim Hightower of Texas once said, "The opposite for courage is not cowardice, it's conformity. Even a dead fish can go with the flow." I'd like to use and ask you to cooperate with me by using the balance of my time for a moment of silence in respect and gratitude for a woman of great courage, Senator Faith Winter.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. Kroll, any further speakers online or in person? Please approach the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Coleman Erickson. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to speak before you. I wanted to echo the positive feelings for the TVM improvement and modernization plan. I think that's going to do it's going to go far to shore up the revenue that we have been seeing shrink, and of course we have the budget to talk about later. I also wanted to speak to the positives that we've seen in RTD this last few weeks. We just saw the return of service to the downtown loop. I appreciate the linking of regional connectivity throughout the entire central corridor, and that's what we've seen lacking in L-line service. And I think that this special service could be a way to look into the future of what either the L-line or whatever future service could bring to that area. I would also like to commend the tap to pay. I think along with the TVM modernization, it's going to go a long way to shoring up that revenue, but also expanding the options for people to move quicker and to be more free within our system. That's my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other speakers in person? Please approach the podium. Recognized.
My name is Riley Wharton, W-A-R-T-O-N. And first I wanted to thank all of you for the opportunity to speak to the board and to you guys, and also the tremendous work that RTD does every single day to transport thousands and thousands of people, even if it will be more in the future, and even if we deserve better now. One of the first things that Deborah Johnson did during her administration, for my lack of better words, is make it legal for RTD to use their land for things other than just transportation. And as we look at our budget, I hope it is not too late to propose that RTD look towards leasing those parking lots. Not every single parking lot. I assume that the one at Midrow Littleton Station and other stations near the terminals aren't quite as suited because they also get a lot of out-of-towners, for example, Castle Rock, for example. And I think that this is a great opportunity to look into, not necessarily accept fully, but look into the possibility of having those parking lots be developed, and then those developers build on that land and then give RTD a yearly sum for 20, 30 years. I honestly think that that would be a great way to increase revenue and also increase ridership because it would increase density. You really want mixed use development there. Emphasis on mixed use. It has to be mixed use, not just apartment buildings, mixed use. Because it will encourage both commercial demand, perhaps office demand, and also residential demand. I am very confident in RTD's ability to sustain itself in the future because it kind of has no other choice but to. And I highly encourage the RTD board to think about leasing its parking lots, not necessarily selling, leasing. There's an important distinction there. Somehow I have 45 seconds left. I don't know how, but I just want to say thank you again. And I also support the S line. I hope it gets renamed specifically to the L line and continues operating after that. And I also hope that in the future, not necessarily in 2026, because I understand RTD is very constrained, but in the future, that it increases frequency to more than just 15 minutes, every 5 minutes or something, to kind of, and to also have time transfers with all of the trains that arrive from the south, namely the E and the D, or the C, as it might become in the future. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you for your comments. Any further speakers who would like to approach the podium? Mr. Kroll, were there any emailed comments?
There were several. One came in from the city of Broomfield regarding a resolution they approved at their city council, demanding that the Regional Transportation District complete the Northwest Corridor. Keegan Velasquez wrote in regarding changes to the Bolt route. The Greater Denver Transit wrote in with the aforementioned letter, and Mr. Jimmy Mole wrote in and also provided verbal public comment regarding the Platte Valley Flex Ride.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kroll. With no other participants for public comment, I will close it at this time. Thank you all. Moving on, we're going to go to our external entities reports. There are no external entity reports for this month. Moving on, we'll go to our audit committee report. Committee Chair Busick, anything you'd like to share?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the audit committee held its final meeting for 2025 on Thursday, November 13th. At that meeting, the committee heard an update from our external auditor, Plante Moran, regarding their plan to execute on the 2025 annual comprehensive financial report. We took action to recommend the appointments of Director Guzman and Director Larson to the audit committee. We recognize the contributions of outgoing committee members, former Director Catlin and former Director Deschel, and we received an update on our ongoing internal audits from Reuben Brown. The next audit committee is scheduled for Thursday, February 12, 2026, where the committee will welcome Director Guzman and Director Larson, hear updates on the ongoing internal audits, and elect new committee leadership. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Committee Chair Busick. Moving on to the Finance and Planning Committee report, Committee Chair Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Planning Committee met for the final time this year on November 11, 2025. We had 8 recommendations, which are on our agenda tonight. There will be no meeting in December. The next meeting will be in January for the election of new committee leadership. I do want to acknowledge my Vice Chair, Karen Banker, and CFO Kelly Mackey, and the team from RTD for all of the work that we completed this year. So hopefully we can land the plane from Finance and Planning and move forward. I would advise directors, however, to go back and look at the meeting notes from the Finance and Planning Committee. There was a lot covered in respect to what needs to happen next year with respect to planning and the 5-year financial forecast that is still pending, that has been carried over by the board to next year. So we'll need to complete that before the end of the first quarter, just as a friendly reminder. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Chair Guzman. Moving on to the Operations, Safety, and Security Committee report. Committee Chair Harwick.
The Operations Safety and Security meeting was on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. 2 items were unanimously passed by the committee and are now heading to the full board this evening. The first was the January 2026 service change, and the second was the RTD and customer shared commitments. And then we also had a discussion item, and that was a transit police update. Chief Police and Emergency Management, Steve Martingano, spoke to us and gave us the update. Our next meeting is also January of 2026. Don't know a specific date, but we're going to do elections and proceed with business next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Committee Chair. Performance Committee report. Committee Chair Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Performance Committee met twice in November, on the 17th and on the 20th. One of those was the executive session with our General Manager CEO. The second one was to make the recommendation of approval of the 2025 General Manager CEO performance appraisal and the related compensation change, and the 9th Amendment to the General Manager CEO employment agreement, which is in our agenda tonight. This year was a lot of work to further our review process. Big thanks to Vice Chair Guchenritter, who handled it with grace and a new child, and a lot of new dad responsibilities, which was really awesome, holding me accountable as the chair to make sure that we kept things moving forward. Even more profound thanks for Chief People Officer Charlene Pelegi, who is a consummate professional, and with her guidance and her wisdom, was able to help me and the board ultimately finalize a report, calculate scores, and ensure a process that is fair both to the board and to our employee, the General Manager CEO, through that process. So just got to say thank you. A lot of thanks for that. We will not meet again this month. The next meeting will be in January, again, to do the election of the new committee leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Chair. Moving on, we're going to move to the approval of the board meeting minutes and committee reports. The board and committee minutes were included in the board packet. Are there any corrections from the board for the minutes to be approved this evening? Okay, seeing none, unless there is objection to considering the minutes all at the same time, may I please have a motion to approve the minutes for the following meetings? October 28th, special board meeting. October 28th, board meeting. November 11th, Finance and Planning Committee. November 12th, Operations, Safety, and Security Committee. November 13th, Audit Committee. November 17th, Performance Committee. November 20th, Performance Committee. November 20th, Executive Committee. And those all happened in the year 2020 and 25. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have Guzman as the mover and Nicholson as the second. Are there any no votes? Excuse me, any discussion? Any no votes? Okay, seeing none, that'll pass 13-0, 1 absent. Okay, moving on. We're going to move to the chair's report for this evening. So I'm going to start with administrative note for all of you as directors. We will be having a special study session next Tuesday, and that's going to be with the Front Range Passenger Rail. This meeting will take place here at Blake and will start at 4 p.m. So I do hope you all join us for a great conversation. Really looking forward to it. This is my final report as your chair, and I will take chair's privilege in regards to the thank yous and acknowledgements of all the work that has helped me make my job easier, and I will take that chair privilege and say it in other matters. For my chair's report, I will actually be dedicating vast majority of my time in regards to sending my deepest condolences to Senator Faith Winter's family. I and the rest of this agency were deeply saddened to hear the tragic news from last week. Senator Winter was very much involved in the world of RTD and found multiple new funding streams throughout the state for transportation, and we're forever grateful for her contributions to this agency. I'd greatly appreciated the conversations that I had with her in person and the time that she had taken to speak with me as the chair of the board as we went forward with our continued partnership with both the state and this agency. It's incredibly hard to hear that a fellow public servant had been lost, but the work that they had accomplished and their legacy lives on. I and the rest of this board send our deepest condolences to her family and her loved ones. I would like to say, on behalf of this board, we are all here as support for anything that is needed for her family and her loved ones. With that, I've dedicated my chair's report to Senator Winter. I will now hand it off to GMCO Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bouquet. Good evening to you, board members, and to all who are assembled, both virtually and here in the boardroom. As introduced, I'm Deborah Johnson. During the course of my report, I will share with you some highlights and activities and strategic endeavors, and I too will be making some comments relative to State Senator Winter at the conclusion of my report. Related to the strategic priority of community value, I am pleased to report that the Calamath project was completed on schedule last Tuesday, November 25th. This full-depth rail reconstruction effort at the intersection of Calamath Street and Colfax Avenue, adjacent to the Auraria campus, is part of the multi-year downtown rail reconstruction project. For anyone joining us this evening who may be unfamiliar, the goal of this important undertaking was to fully reconstruct miles of light rail track embedded throughout the roadways in downtown Denver. The embedded track is part of RTD's oldest light rail alignment and has been in continuous use since RTD initially launched light rail service in October of 1994. The full-depth reconstruction process involved removing all current track infrastructure, concrete, rail ties, and ballast. The on-time completion of the Calamath crossing portion of the project demonstrates RTD's commitment to safely and efficiently maintaining its assets and limiting disruptions to service delivery for customers. This critical work ensures that RTD can continue providing a viable transit network for future generations. The agency will continue its work on the subsequent phases of the downtown rail reconstruction project in 2026, and some phases may occur simultaneously. I thank my team, as well as our contractors and our partners at the City and County of Denver for ensuring that this came to fruition within the 86-day timeline that we made a commitment to doing back in August. And thank you to the board for your support in this critical endeavor to maintain our assets in a state of good repair. We've heard quite naturally from speakers this evening as it related to the holiday train. As you know, with the conclusion of the Calamath work, we worked diligently and were creative relative to ensuring that we could provide some element of service outside of our standard service change that will take place in a few weeks. So as you know, commencing the day after Thanksgiving, and continuing through Saturday, January 3rd, the special light rail service now operates every 15 minutes from 6 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. between I-25 Broadway and 30th and Downing stations. All currently adjusted light rail lines and their destinations, including the H line service terminating at Southmore Station, and the D line, which is rerouting into Denver Union Station, will continue until the service change that I just referenced takes effect on Sunday, January 4th. At that time, regular DH and L service patterns will resume. On Thursday, November 13th, the City of Brighton launched the Brighton On-Demand Local Transit, or BOLT, not to be confused with the other service in another district. Director Whitmore and Partnership Project Manager Corey Schmidt were on hand for the ribbon cutting, and this project was made possible through RTD's partnership program, which seeks to help communities meet local mobility needs through transportation pilots of their own design. The project was prioritized by the Subregional Service Council serving the northeastern portion of the agency's service area, and RTD awarded the City of Brighton $1.8 million in funding over 3 years. The Brighton Bolt service, not to be confused, as I said before, with the Bolt fixed route service, provides Brighton community members and RTD customers with an additional mobility option in the area connecting to existing flex ride and fixed route services, including bus routes 120L, 145X, 520, and the RX. Related to customer excellence, On Veterans Day, Tuesday, November 11th, I, along with members of the leadership team, were privileged to attend events held at 2 of our operating facilities to honor current RTD employees who have previously served in the U.S. Armed Forces. The events provided opportunities to show appreciation and gratitude for these employee services and to celebrate their contributions to the agency and our country. RTD initially launched a military recruitment campaign in 2023, highlighting the unique contributions of its military veterans who are essential to the agency's workforce. A webpage dedicated to garnering interest from veterans seeking careers in transit can be found on the agency's website. On November 24th, the agency announced the release of its near-term customer experience and transit utilization action plan. Developed over several months, the comprehensive plan includes nearly 60 tactics shaped by feedback received from RTD's customers, you as the board, staff, and annual surveys. And it aligns with the 2021-2026 strategic plan and this year's annual developed scorecard to enhance agency performance in specific areas. The action plan includes strategies to improve service reliability, personal safety and security, cleanliness, wayfinding, digital tools, communications, and the overall ease of using RTD services. The plan also emphasizes a customer-first approach to ensure transit users feel informed, supported, and valued through their journey. And we've also heard this evening from various commentors as well about RTD's launch of Tap and Ride functionality across the transit network that took place last week. As we know, this new fare payment option provides a quick, secure, and convenient way for customers to pay their fare at any validator, including those at transit platforms and onboard vehicles. Customers need only to tap a Visa or Master credit, debit, or prepaid card, or use a Visa or MasterCard loaded into their mobile wallets. And mobile payments, of course, include Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay, and are available via mobile phone or smartwatch. Plans are in place to add American Express and Discover in the early part of the new year. Tap and Ride also supports fare capping, meaning that a customer using the same physical or digital card to tap each time will never pay more than the course of a day pass or airport pass for those taking round trips to Denver International Airport, excuse me. As of 11 a.m. today, December 2nd, more than 1,200 individual fares have been purchased through Tap and Ride functionality. That number reflects the first full week of the program being implemented, but does not include total taps made when customers are transferring between vehicles and modes. For more details on this fare payment option, customers are encouraged to visit RTD's website. Also this evening, under the category or strategic priority, I should say, of employee ownership, I wanted to acknowledge the fuel tanker accident. As the board was made aware, on Thanksgiving at approximately 1 p.m., a non-RTD operated fuel tanker truck crashed into the retaining wall of the Yale Street Light Rail Bridge in Denver along the Southeast Corridor. Service along the corridor was suspended at the time of the incident. The Yale station was closed following the crash, but has since reopened to customers. Limited light rail service is currently in operation while emergency design efforts and repair work are underway. Provisional services are in place. An overview of the temporary disruptions have been added to RTD's website, and customers are encouraged to sign up for service alerts or check RTD's websites. Advisories have been disseminated to media outlets to provide updates about the current disruptions. I want to extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to members of the leadership team that fielded my many calls and emails on Thanksgiving afternoon, and to all the employees who sprung into action during that Thanksgiving holiday to ensure that employees and customers alike remained safe following this incident and that transit service delivery in the area could continue. On behalf of the agency, I also extend my thanks to customers for their grace and patience as full service is being, as we endeavor to restore full service along the corridor. Another element relative to employee ownership, I want to take this opportunity this evening to acknowledge Chief People Officer Charlene Pelleggi, as this meeting is the last meeting at which Charlene Pelleggi will be attending as an RTD employee. As I previously reported out to the board, CPO Pelleggi's last day with the agency will be Monday, December 15th. During her tenure here with RTD, Charlene has been a valuable member of the leadership team, and her contributions to the agency are immeasurable. Over the last 3 years, Charlene has built out a strategic, compliant, and client-focused HR team. She's decreased vacancy rates through intentional and purposeful recruitment strategies and effectively streamlined the time to fill period. She's increased the employee ownership composite index score for human resources, and that's part of our employee satisfaction survey, from 65% in 2023 to 92% in 2025. She's increased the employee survey satisfaction results relative to HR services, like how do you view the services you receive from HR as an employee, from 45% in 2023 to over 70% in 2025, and assisted me directly with the various leadership team recruitments. While I highlight only a few accomplishments, knowing Charlene, it is her leadership and the support and effort of her team that brought the aforementioned to fruition. I will personally miss working alongside her, and I wish her well and all the best as she departs sunny Colorado for a new geographic landscape. At this juncture, if you would join me in embarrassing Charlene by offering her a round of applause, because I know she doesn't like it, but we're going to do it anyway. And lastly, I would be remiss if I did not pause this evening to amplify Chair Bouquet's remarks about Colorado State Senator Faith Winter as we collectively reflect upon her untimely passing. I acknowledge her contributions in the legislature, and particularly her fierce advocacy in the transit space and her service as chair of the Senate Transportation and Energy Committee. This is a heartbreaking loss for the broader Colorado community, and my thoughts are with Senator Winter's family, especially her 2 children, friends, and colleagues, and those that mourn her loss. With that, Chair, I will yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, GMCO Johnson. Director, as we move forward now to public hearing for the 2026 budget. Ladies and gentlemen, the chair hereby calls to order the public hearing on the Regional Transportation District's proposed budget for the year 2026. In accordance with both RTD's requirements and local government statutes, notice of the public hearing was duly posted in the office of the executive manager to the board of directors. The notice was published in 2 major daily newspapers of the district prior to this meeting and on the RTD website. This public hearing will be conducted under the process that the board uses for its regular public comment section. The chair would like to point out that the testimony will be limited to the subject of the public hearing, and presentations of testimony should be no longer than 3 minutes. Written testimony should be emailed to the board office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com, and that will be distributed to the board. The 2026 proposed budget was included in the electronic packet for the board and public to review. Speakers should begin their remarks by stating their names, and they'll have up to 3 minutes to provide their comments. Are there any speakers? Mr. Kroll.
We did not have any speakers sign up ahead of time in person, and I am checking now to see if there are any speakers online in the queue. There are no speakers in the queue online.
Anyone in person like to speak regarding the 2026 budget? Okay, with no participants in the queue, we'll close public hearing for the 2026 proposed budget at this time. Okay, moving on to the 2026 proposed budget. This is for the Board of Directors to adopt resolution number blank, series of 2025 for the adoption of 2026 budget. Resolution number blank, series of 2025 for the 2026 budget appropriation, and resolution number blank, series of 2025 for the appropriation of 2026 previously appropriated capital. Do we have a mover?
So moved.
Guzman is the mover. Is there a second?
Second.
We've got Banker as the second. Any discussion on this item? Yes, Treasurer Banker.
I would like to make an amendment, a motion to, well, before I do that, I'd like to thank everybody that's been involved in putting together the budget. It's been a difficult endeavor, and I know it's taken a lot of work. We have a new CFO. She got to work immediately, feet on the ground, a lot of good progress, and we have a budget tonight that we can certainly talk about because there's a lot to be talked about. The good news is we're about to pass the budget for next year, which is always an exciting thing. Don't laugh.
Hear, hear.
Yes. Truly, it is the most important thing that I believe that we do each year because it sets out our goals, priorities, makes payroll, sets trips and routes, and everything else is contained in this one document. I always like to think that every number that you see in the budget has got a story behind it. So I'm trying to make it a little bit more interesting for those that are a little skeptical that, you know, passing the budget is a fun thing to do. But it's also very difficult. And when we get to one of the other sections of our agenda, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the challenges that we're being faced with regard to revenues, expenditures, and some deficits. But again, I want to thank our staff for putting in long hours. I know what it's like putting together a budget with change after change after change, double checking things, conferring with operating staff, and I want to thank you for the hard work that you've put in. And then with that, I would like to make an amendment. I would like to be able to take out the $20 million of COPs for the cutaways and set that aside until January when we come up with a different funding mechanism. So what I'd like to talk about is I want to make it very clear that we need to go forward and purchase these cutaway vehicles. But right now, with regard to a budget, I want to at least give you a few things to think about. That if we go forward and do COPs, $20 million worth, here are some of the things to think about if perhaps there are other ways to go about doing it. Okay, so if we were to go and issue the debt, and I sent out a question, so I'm using staff information. Most likely it would be for 10 years because the vehicles will, that's about the life of the
Director
vehicle.
Banker, I hate to interrupt.
Yes.
Is this an explanation of your
Oh,
amendment?
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay.
Does it need to be seconded?
It does need to be seconded.
I second that.
Okay, I got Chandler as the,
Okay, thank you.
yes. Continue forward.
Point of order.
Thank you,
Point of
Mr. Chair.
information. Mr. Chair,
Of course.
can you just clarify the exact wording of the motion, just so we know what it is, just so, you know, because I want to make
Okay.
sure it's, I want to make sure we're clear on what it is. So,
I would like to take out of the budget the $20 million set aside for COPs for the cutaway vehicles. And we will discuss it with other financing mechanisms in January.
cool, thank you.
Okay?
Okay, continue
Okay,
forward.
thank you. Okay, so some things that I would like to ask our board members to consider. Once again, these vehicles are going to have a lifespan of about 10 years. So the COPs would take approximately 10 years. You would go to term with that. There would be a 1% fee that you would have to pay to do the debt. In addition, the estimate that we'd be paying for interest would be around 3%. So if you add those numbers together, you're going to be taking a $20 million cost to purchase these vehicles, and it's probably going to add about $5 million to the cost. By doing this tonight, we could also reduce our deficit. So right now, the deficit projected for next year is $248 million. If we were to take out this $20 million of debt, it would reduce our deficit to $228 million, which is still a very large number. We have been asked by a number of folks working for the state, whether it's the governor's office or CDOT, that we should apply for grant monies to see if we could go forward and get these vehicles and use someone else's dollars instead of our own dollars. This has also been questioned by the Accountability Committee, which of course is going to be meeting again tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure this is probably going to be something that might be raised in terms of why isn't RTD being more aggressive going after some of the grant dollars that we have out there. And then the other point that I'd like to make is that if we leave the $20 million and we do not spend our own money, that money could be invested at about a 4% interest rate, which over 10 years could earn another $8 million. So I think what I'm trying to say, I know I like to talk about numbers, but what I'm trying to say is that I think if we could take a look at the COP proposal that we have in front of us, postpone it, have a more full discussion to see whether or not we could find other dollars that could pay for this particular item. Again, I want to make it very clear that I do want to go forward and purchase these vehicles, replace the vehicles, but use somebody else's dollars as opposed to our own. So thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Geisinger?
Thank you. I will support this amendment. I think that Director Becker's done a great job of explaining where we are, which is we would like to buy these cutaways, but not by issuing COPs. And I agree, and thank all of our new CFO and our CEO and all of your staff for the hard work on the budget. On this piece, this is the first part of the $549 million, if I got the number right, that we're projecting to be financing to buy buses over the next 5 years. And I am very, very concerned about that, and hope that we will take some time here in the near future to look at some of Director Binker's arguments and find other ways for much of that funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Secretary Nicholson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as one of my heroes as a child like to say, it's not easy being green. And in this case, I think we have an opportunity to go green in a way that is easy, or at least a lot easier than doing it with fixed route 40-foot buses that require a whole different set of charging infrastructure. You know, these are vehicles that are positioned throughout the metro area during the day to take these trips, and for which the charging infrastructure can be equally, distributed so that, we're able to make use of electric effectively for these types of trips. The state legislature has said over and over and over and over again that they want us to have this money. They are literally saying, we're showing you the money, take it. This seems like a really, really good way to take that money. So yeah, let's hold off. Let's see if we can get the money, and then we'll figure out next year what to do if we can't. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Guzman?
So I have a question for the directors. With respect to the referendum for a vote in 2004, otherwise known as the Fast Tracks vote, are you willing to give up the same amount of money to purchase these vehicles from the Fast Tracks funds? It would be allowed under that vote. And I'm just curious because, increased bus service, including the use of smaller buses and vans and alternative fuel vehicles as appropriate, were part of that vote and the collection to be spent from those funds. I just want to make sure that we are not setting ourselves up for failure, because if we remove this and we are unable to be as nimble as we think we are, receive grant funding as is hopefully planned for and anticipated, do we put ourselves in a position where we will be caught on our heels and not able to move forward to provide service to some of the most at-need constituents that we serve, who we have already had a lot of conversation with this year? I don't know that this is the right thing to do in this moment. Now, considering, on balance, Director Banker's desire to go after grant funding, I'm all in on that. But I don't think we should delay planning and budgeting appropriately now until we have certainty with what grant funding might look like next year, when we can always come back to this boardroom and change that aspect of the budget, and instead of proceeding with the COP, go with the grant money instead and swap it out once we have more certainty. I put that to all of you. Where are we going to come up with the money to do this purchase if we don't have something ready to go and we don't get grant funding?
Thank you, Director. Secretary Nicholson?
Yeah, so I actually have two questions for staff related to Director Guzman's statements. The first one is, how many of our cutaway vehicles that we currently have will be unable to be operated next year? So how many are literally on the verge of being needed to be completely taken out of service, needing to be replaced as opposed to wanting to be replaced because the new ones would be, say, more comfortable? That's my first question. And my second question is, how much money do we expect the Clean Transit Fund to have available for grant making for 2027, I guess, with applications in 2026? Because that's the funding that we've been talking about as being the source of the money for this. And it's my understanding it's a pretty substantial fund that's available every year. So I don't know if that's Ms. Mackey or GMCEO Johnson, but if one of you can talk about both the available clean transit funding and the state of our existing cutaway vehicles and whether or not we're literally going to stop being able to run service if we don't do this right now, that would be helpful.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Deborah Johnson, General Manager, CEO. Thank you, Secretary Nicholson, for the question. I don't have information readily available in front of me to address the question as it relates to how many vehicles, but what I do know for certain is that this body delayed the purchase of paratransit vehicles, I believe, in 2020. Put us in a precarious position relative to delivering service. I can circle back with staff, but I know we're sitting at a meeting now, and I don't want to put staff on the spot to say how many vehicles we have readily available. Right, we don't have that information readily available, but I do know that some of the vehicles are past their useful life benchmark as it relates to traditional transit asset management planning. And further to the point about the conversations that have ensued with one of our most vulnerable customer segments, is that relative to riding in a cutaway vehicle, as we know, that is not directly manufactured as such, and it's called a cutaway because there's an aspect that's cut away and added to a chassis. When you think about the suspension services and some neurodivergent disabilities that people may have, one individual comes to mind, Douglas Howie, that was an advocate who passed away about 4 years ago, talked about the disorientation when riding in a vehicle that basically didn't have the necessary suspension system. So I just share that, but I can't provide that information at this juncture. The second part of the question relative to how much funding will be made available, I've heard the same discussions you have relative to what the projections are, but there's no way I can sit here and say that it will be X amount of dollars because, as we know, these are various fees that are anticipated being received, and based upon that, there's a percentage that will be made available. And further to the point, as we progress with the Clean Transit Enterprise grant funding program, recognizing that there'll be modifications made. And as I shared with all of you, we are committed to going after those funds. I just can't say with certainty what tomorrow may look like or the tomorrows after that. So, thanks.
First Vice Chair O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to support this amendment for a couple reasons. First, it's 7 weeks is basically the time frame I think Director Banker is going to talking to. I think this won't be the only thing that we should start looking at in the budget to start to change our trend. We've talked about that with GMCEO Johnson, staff, and everybody's on the same page that we don't do that. So I'm willing to give it a shot on this particular one. I also think there's something meaningful in putting the state on the clock. I've heard a lot of talk about the money that's available. The fact is that to this point, we have not received much money from the state. They're claiming that we need to go after it and the money is there for us. Great, they're on the clock. I think that there is money available. I also think that their sources are highly variable by the economy with rental cars, and our price of oil doesn't fit very well with the current commodity price of oil on the market. So I think their estimates of money available is going to be probably less than it's been projected, but I'm certainly willing to give them a chance to fulfill their promises of help.
Thank you. Any further discussion regarding the amendment? Director Pagliari?
I'll support this as well. I think it's very prudent of us to take some time and consider such a large purchase, and taking a few extra weeks is fine in my book, but also I'll be voting yes because I think that the state should contribute more. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. Any further discussion or comments? Okay, I'm going to take a roll call vote, and then reminder, directors, this is voting on the amendment itself. Director Banker?
Yes.
Director Bezic?
Yes.
Director Chandler?
Yes.
Director Geisinger?
Yes.
Director Guchenrieder?
Yes.
Director Guzman?
Nope.
Director Harwick?
No.
Director Larson?
No.
Secretary Nicholson?
Yes.
First Vice Chair O'Keefe?
Yes.
Director Pagliari?
Yes.
Director Risha is still absent. Second Vice Chair Whitmore?
No.
I'll support it, and it'll pass 9-4, 1 absent. Okay, moving on now. Oh, Director Risha, are you present? Okay. Okay, my apologies. I got some miscommunication then. Okay, moving on now to the main motion as amended. Conversation regarding this. First Vice Chair O'Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think just building on my last statement, first of all, again, credit to CFO Mackey for learning public finance. I mean, it must be some sort of time machine because there's no way that she learned it in the months that she's been on the job. So I appreciate that. I also, I give her some comfort for the shock that she's probably seen with the budget as it goes out year over year. I don't think we're in a crisis this year, 2026. And I don't think we should necessarily react like we're in a crisis in 2026. What I am concerned about is if we don't start gently changing the trajectory of our controllable spending, which is a really awful way of saying our overhead spending, we are at the beginning of a massive crisis. And that is, we all know 4, 5, 7 years out, I don't know what it is, but we know it's coming. And I was thrilled to hear pretty much everybody embrace the fact that if we start changing this trajectory this year, the cuts are far less consequential down the road. And this isn't an economic projection. We know it's coming. So there's no economy that's going to come out and bail us out. We know this has to happen, and so we need to start controlling that curve down a little bit, which will buy us time and allow us to keep our frontline assets out, which we should protect at all costs. So I'm very happy that we're already talking about in January starting looking at our budget that we're spending already in that year, and I want to thank management for everything they've done to give that comfort and credit for the work that was put into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. For sake of the record, I do see that Director Risha has joined us virtually. Secretary Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not easy to hit a moving target, and our income projections over this last year and going into next year have very much been a moving target thanks to larger macro factors. that have been going on. And the result of that, of course, is that it becomes, your budget can look very different in December than it may have in January and certainly the year before. So I appreciate the work that staff has done, that our wonderful new CFO has done to try to give us as much information as we wanted on this. It is a financial reality that this agency will look dramatically different in 10 years if we do not go to the public and raise substantial additional funding. We aren't going to do that tomorrow. We aren't going to do that in 6 months. It's not feasible. It's not politically smart. And so in the meantime, we have to figure out how to manage effectively with what we have and not destroy the service that we are running the same way that SEPTA and CTA almost did and a bunch of other transit agencies have run into, because of what that will do both to our current customers and our ability to convince the public that we are something worth buying into. So I see this as an opportunity to buy us the time necessary to make the hard decisions. Obviously, I mean, I think I would have preferred making them now, but I understand that it takes time to figure those things out. So I just want to say, I hope we don't squander what we're being given in this budget. And I hope we really take seriously the questions of not just overhead, but, you know, how do we streamline routes that we have that are massively inefficient and massively a waste of money? How do we put our bullets in places where they're actually going to meet the needs of customers, so to speak? And so really, you know, it's going to be a tough conversation, and I hope we're really willing to look each other in the face and have it next year.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions regarding? Yeah, Director Banker.
I just also wanted to thank Chair Guzman for working together at the committee. He taught me a few tricks of the trade here since I was new in January and trying to figure out how to proceed. And I enjoyed working with you, so thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, both of you, for your service. Questions, comments? Okay. Are there any no votes regarding the proposed budget as amended? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Director Risha.
I will be.
You'll be a no vote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, understand. Any further no votes? Okay, I'll make it easy. I'm going to say that passes. 13 yes, 1 no. Okay, thank you all. As amended, thank you. All right, moving on, we're going to go to unanimous consent. There are several unanimous consent items, and that's listed under Section 18, Actions B through J. Those items are salary trustee appointment, ticket vending machines modernization, Title VI Fair Equity Analysis, 2026-2027 budget commitments, RTD and customer shared commitments, appointments of Director Michael Guzman and Director Matt Larson to the Independent Audit Committee, the Ninth Amendment to the GMCO Employment Agreement, the approval of the 2025 General Manager and CEO's performance appraisal and related compensation change, and then director's expense and reimbursement policy amendments, and then finally item J will be the board collaboration tool pilot. It is important to note that item H, the 2025 GMCO performance appraisal and related compensation change, came out of the November 20th performance committee that was held directly prior to the November 20th executive committee meeting, and that was unanimous. If anyone does have a change to or discussion on or questions about these items, please feel free to advise myself, and I'll, of course, be happy to pull it from unanimous consent to recommended actions. Would anyone like to pull any items?
I'd like to pull item D.
Item D. Okay. Director Chandler.
And I'd like to pull item J, board collaboration tool pilot.
Okay. Director Pagliari.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pull item I, Director's Expense and Reimbursement Policy Amendments.
Okay. Any further ones that we want to pull?
I'd like to pull H.
Okay. Any further? Okay. Yep. I have D, J, I, and H.
Thank you. The request was also to pull the RTD and customer shared commitments item, is that correct? No, I was wrong about that, okay.
Okay, directors, does this seem accurate?
Pardon me, Mr. Chair.
Director
The
Risha?
caption, yes, sorry, the captions are lagging a little. Would you mind just repeating what items have been pulled off so I understand?
Sure. So the items that have been pulled off are the 2026, 2027 budget commitments. Pardon me, I'm doing this in real time. The approval of the 2025 general manager and CEO's performance appraisal and related compensation change, the board collaboration tool, director expense and reimbursement policy amendments. That leaves us with 5 unanimous consent items: salary trustee appointments, the ticket vending machines modernization, RT and customer shared commitments, appointment of Director Guzman Larson to the Independent Audit Committee, and then the 9th Amendment to the GMCO employment agreement. Does that help clarify?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I just apologize because the captions aren't working for me, but just to confirm that the RTD and customer shared commitments was pulled off of consent
It was not.
or remains. Would you mind pulling that off, sir?
Sure.
Thank you.
Directors, are we good with that? Okay. Can I have a motion to approval of the unanimous consent items?
So moved. Second.
Got Nicholson as the mover and Geisinger as the second. In sake of time, I'm not going to read off each and every one of these again, but is there any discussion regarding it? Or excuse me, are there any no votes on this? Okay. So those 4 items will pass, 14 yes, 0 no's. Okay, so that will move us to our recommended actions. And I'm going to actually just go by these, by how they're listed, or real time on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to go by these by listed how they are on the screen. So we now have a new item, which is G 5232, and that is the RTD and customer shared commitments. Do I have a motion?
I motion that.
Okay, Chandler is the mover, Banker is the second. What discussion do we have on this item? Yeah, Director Banker.
I will be brief, but I think it's very important for us to focus a little bit more on the budget that we just passed. I just wanted to highlight the deficit situation that we're in. So just to let you know.
Wrong item, I think.
Budget
Yeah,
commitment.
it's just displaying a
I
little
thought
weird.
it
We did get a
was-
motion for G, but there was the way the software works here is it was actually set currently to F.
Excuse me, so you are correct. I am ashamed of myself, Director Banker.
Quite all right.
You know what we say?
Thank you, Mr.
I'll own up to that.
Yeah.
So that is number F. Thank you. So
So,
we're talking about the 2026, 2027 budget commitments.
well, we didn't get a motion for that. We got a motion for G. So why don't we just tackle G and then come back to F, if that works for everybody? No.
It doesn't have a number attached to it, though. Right?
Okay, so we had a mover on item G, which was Director Banker, and Director Chandler as the second, and that is the RTD and customer shared commitments. We will come back to item F, and talk about that in a minute. And I believe this was Director Rusha, if I'm wrong, who pulled this off. Director Rusha, did you have any comments regarding the polling of what is now called item G?
Sure. I'm happy to, although if the movers wanted to comment, I was okay to go next or second, or the proponents. Guys, I requested that we pull this off just to explain my no vote. It's not to disparage my colleagues who worked on it. The reason why I'm a no vote today is because it's just so drastically different than what proponents brought before OSS committee 2 years in a row. And I feel like it could have greatly benefited from more of the customer focus and just more dialogue with our fellow board members. For example, the original intention had very specific language about like accessibility, access to government, things like that. I can see some of that reflection in this language, but I feel like it in effect attempts to rewrite a social contract and labels transit as a privilege. So I'm just, because I was the person who lobbied and brought this forth 2 boards now, over 2.5 years, I'm just not comfortable voting yes today. But again, it's not to disparage my colleagues. I just hope in the future we can maybe collaborate a little bit more before we have these big customer facing pieces before us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Director Rusha. Director Chandler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to express that I appreciated the collaboration that did happen, especially with GMC Johnson and with Director Pagliari. Also, it does say in the very beginning that, very clearly in the preamble, that transit is not a right, and that this is a contract between what the expectations are of the rider as well as the expectations of RTD. So I would hope that you would have a yes vote on this. We worked very hard, and as said earlier, it is up in front. It's going to be landing on the main page so that in the customer area, so that those that ride RTD will understand what we expect of them as much as they can expect from us. So I would urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this conversation? Okay, Director Rusha, you identified as a no vote. Are there any other no votes for this item? Director Guzman? Any others? Okay, I see this will pass 12 to 0 absent. Thank you all. Moving on, we will now go to item F, which is going to be moved by
I so move.
and seconded by,
F,
yes.
if that is F.
We have Banker as the mover, and we then have Chandler as the second. We're now on to item F, which is the 26-27 budget commitments.
Okay, well, thank you very much. A couple of things, again, that I just want to bring to everyone's attention, because we do have a serious budget issue, and we're going to have a lot of discussions about this in the next couple of months. However, keep in mind the 2024 budget deficit that closed the books year ago was $286 million. The deficit for this fiscal year, we still don't know. I was able to talk to CFO Mackey yesterday. It could be anywhere from $100 million to almost $400 million. We don't know. We're going to have to see how everything closes out. We probably won't know until, February or March. The budget that we just passed is going to have now a deficit of $228 million. So how did we get here? Just real quick, here's my theories. We have reduced our fare revenue from about $157 million back in 2019 to roughly $60 million currently. And so how did we lose $100 million in fare revenue? Much of it is because we lost a lot of our ridership, about 40%. I suspect a lot of the riders that we lost probably were paying fares. Fares were reduced in 2024. We started a free youth fare. And then in addition, we added some brand new programs that we did not have previously. So we've sort of dug a hole. There's going to be a lot of work ahead of us. the Finance Committee, we felt that it was important to go ahead with the resolution that you see that we're going to be voting on in just a minute or two. And basically what it's asking the board, if we say yes to this, is that come January, we're going to start having a discussion on fare revenue. And it's not just fare, but, you know, I'm also hoping that we're going to bring in parking revenue and some of our other past programs that we have. And we have an in-depth discussion as to, you know, where do we go from here. In addition, you know, we need to start looking into more grant opportunities, and we discussed this in the Finance Committee because the deficit is fairly deep. We are asking the board to give us a little bit more time. We might have to have a budget in 2027 that will not be balanced. However, we're going to try to make that happen without using and spending down our balances, because right now we're going from about $1 billion in reserves. And now that we've passed the budget for 2026, our reserves are being projected now more like around 800 million. So we're spending down our, you know, the reserves that we've been relying on and looking at protecting now for past couple of months and years. So I just wanted to alert the board that there's a lot of work ahead of us. It's not going to be fun, but I think we can do this. We'll get back in balance, and we're hoping to also start to pull together some additional dollars to hopefully add some service sometime, maybe next year, definitely in 27. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that hard work ahead of us, but we're going to get it done, and we will be in balance, and we will be okay. But if anyone's got suggestions, ideas, anything you want to throw out, please bring it forward, and let's start talking about it sooner rather than later. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Treasurer Binker. Any further comments regarding item F? Secretary Nicholson.
So I believe the other part of the budget commitments is the 10 million committed for the partnership program. Am I correct about that? Cool. Yeah, I would just want to say, you know, I've been having conversations in district about that for the last couple of weeks, and there's a lot of excitement, and I really appreciate the directors who've been, you know, pushing this for the last year, being, you know, really on it. I did not expect how many people, even in Cherry Creek, Hilltop, you know, Central Denver, would be excited about augmenting service and really partnering with RTD. So thank you guys for that, and I think it's going to be the right call.
Awesome. Any further questions, comments? Are there any no votes on this item? Okay, seeing none, that'll pass 14-0. Moving on to item H, and that is the approval of the 2025 General Manager and CEO's performance appraisal and related compensation change. Do we have a mover?
So moved.
Nicholson is the mover. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Guzman is a second. Discussion on this? Yes, Secretary.
Yeah. Well, I guess first off, I would just say thank you to Chair Guzman, Vice Chair Gutenritter for the time that you guys put in and the really incredible process that you ran to make this possible. And then I have some thoughts for GM CEO Johnson on the process as a whole, given how intensely people pay attention to all of this. I think it's warranted for us to have some discussion. GMCO Johnson, throughout your tenure at RTD, the agency's addressed a series of longstanding challenges that were allowed to linger by past leaders and were made far more visible by the changing environment of the pandemic. State of good repair, labor force retention, executive staffing, and budget stability. You've tackled each of these with determination, and each has brought its own challenges. At the same time, you've had to find your footing with a new board, 7 new members just this year. It's been a time of change, to say the least. Now RTD faces a new set of challenges. Last month, we voted to bring back services like Broncos Ride and Rockies Ride, to remove advertising wraps from the windows, and we're facing a budget that will quite likely require meaningful cuts to address both short-term economic challenges and the long-term reality of the cost of maintaining our infrastructure. It's clear that we either face the need for drastic cuts or a massive expansion in revenue from the state legislature, or more likely, a ballot measure. And technological changes are coming. Automation, electrification, and AI are all likely to meaningfully impact how we deliver service in the next decade. I mention all this because I believe you've done a phenomenal job making the hard calls in ways that your predecessors did not, and forcing the agency to tackle the challenges that were, at best, unpleasant. I've been hopeful based on your success in aligning the agency for the future. You've hired a phenomenal executive team, successfully deployed initiatives like credit card tap to pay, launched development of a new integrated RTD app, and brought real-time data to our overhead light rail signs. You've embraced new ideas like the collaboration tool on the agenda tonight that required real vision. In short, you've built an agency that can get back to basics and build the future of RTD. We're at a critical decision point for the future of public transit in the region, and I believe you've brought us to a place where the board can chart that path with clear eyes. If as a group we all have fallen down, it has been in our lack of clear, ambitious direction given to you. The challenges we face cannot be solved by a board that dithers as the floodwaters rise, but one that actively chooses a path forward and lives or dies by the confidence of our convictions. We owe you not consensus, but coherence, the ability to decide swiftly and speak clearly with one voice, even when we disagree. Our ability as a group to collaborate with conviction is perhaps the most fundamental test we face in the coming year. Working in close partnership with you, I believe that we have the capacity to deliver the ambitious leadership this moment demands of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Any further comments or questions? I will note Director Ruscia has joined us in person. Welcome. All right. Are there going to be any no votes in regarding to item H? Okay. Seeing none, this will pass 14-0. Thank you all. Okay, moving on is item I, which is the Director's Expense and Reimbursement Policy Amendments. Do we have a mover on that?
So moved.
Second. Pagliari is the mover, and then Whitmore is the second. Any conversation with this? Director Pagliari?
Yeah, I had a question on this. I'm wondering if you could give context around, I believe it was an audit of the board expense policy about why the ability to extend a trip without additional cost to the agency was removed. So for example, if you were flying to Kansas City but wanted to stay an extra day to visit family or to explore the city, it looks like it's no longer possible. I'm wondering why that was removed.
I'm not sure if I saw that or not, Director Pagliari. I don't think it was the intent.
I think it was, sorry, this is going to take a second to find. Under this, I don't know if you have it up, but sorry, give me a second.
For those viewing remotely on YouTube, don't forget you can subscribe. It does help out the channel. And make sure you do like that live stream. We really greatly appreciate it and tuning in to another RTD meeting.
Okay.
Perfect. Director Pagliari.
Thank you, Chair. I believe it's packet page 337. Or 338. And it might actually be 339. But basically, from my understanding, it was eliminating the ability to maybe be able to extend a trip, like just extend your flights later. Was that intentional?
Would they be paying?
If I could just comment.
Add
here.
Mr. Kroll, do you want to
Yeah,
hop in?
this is Jack Kroll, Executive Manager of the Board Office. The travel, the expense and reimbursement policy does allow for directors to extend trips, either before or after, but that has to be done with pre-approval, and the policy just clearly states that you would not receive, any kind of per diem, or that the agency wouldn't cover any of the costs of extending. But if you wanted to travel out on a Saturday for a conference that ran through Tuesday and fly back on Thursday, it allows for that, but your expenses for, Wednesday and Thursday would not be covered, although your travel to and from would be, if that makes sense.
Okay,
Director
thank you for the
Pagliari.
clarification. Sorry, I was just confused by some of the language.
Does that help, though?
Yeah, that was the answer to my question. Thank you.
Rocco? Rusha?
It's Director Rusha to you, Mr. Chair.
Director Rusha?
Couldn't resist, thanks. So I guess I just want to comment, I appreciate amendments, I suppose, in the work that's been put into this, but I think our rules are over 12 pages long now, and they keep getting longer. And I just wanted to understand from the board office and whomever else worked on these, if there are specific problems we're trying to solve. Sometimes I think when we add, it gets more complicated. This document is almost doubled in the last 5 years. I mean, for example, what was asked by Director Pagliari is already clearly a rule, and I'm not sure we have issue.
Yeah. Board Office, any comments?
Yeah,
I can share something.
I think it's a very valid question, and thank you for it, Director Rusha. The board office has encountered situations over the years in which, there isn't clear guidance in the policy, and so identifying opportunities to include that guidance is some of the justification. Some of the changes were also, though, driven by the audit that was conducted as part of the board-approved internal audit plan into director expenses, and they noted some, not overly alarming gaps in the policy, but I'll give you an example. One was there was no clear delegation to the board office in the policy to prepare expense reports on behalf of the directors. So that was added. To account for some of the complexities of the audit as well, or of the policy, the audit recommended that there be some kind of refresher training on an annual basis, and so that was added. And then on that note, Director or First Vice Chair O'Keefe made an amendment at the executive committee meeting to make that training a required training. We had proposed, based off of the auditor's recommendations, that it be a optional training, but Director O'Keefe cited, the need for it to be a mandatory training. And so, while the policy is lengthy, these are, important funds that you all have been entrusted to steward, and we want to make sure that they're used appropriately. And so there is a training now on an annual basis that the board office will provide to ensure that there is the utmost clarity on the policy.
Rusha? Director Rusha?
I appreciate that, Mr. Kroll. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just ask the board office and those involved, if it comes back next year, it tends to come back annually, that we do everything we can to just simplify the language. I know other local governments and state government, actually, their expense rules and documentation is maybe 3 pages at most. And sometimes simple is clear. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Nicholson?
Yeah, Mr. Kroll, so my understanding is basically the goal of these amendments is to try and prevent wasteful spending, where, the goal here is essentially, directors are doing things and spending money in ways that are not in alignment with our goals as a board, and, these are putting in additional strictures to prevent that. Maybe this is a question for you, maybe this is a question for Chair Bouquet, but from what categories of spending do we expect to see the most significant savings as parts of these amendments? Like where is the benefit? Where does staff think that put this together, the most significant benefit will come from in terms of cost saving?
You know, on packet page 318, the board report provides a summary of the proposed changes and their effects. And there's really, I think, just one area in which, and potentially a second, in which there could be significant cost savings, and they relate to travel. And that's, you know, we want to make sure that we have structures in place that if we have, you know, frequent cancellation of trips, that can be addressed. There's no hard and fast rule, but it's flagging it to say, hey, you know, if directors are going to have occasions where they frequently have to cancel travel, you know, that should be something that the board's looking out for and just sort of course correcting on a case-by-case basis. There's also an encouragement here to have directors submit their travel requests 30 days in advance. That can save significant funding because, you know, as you get closer, the prices of things go up with respect to travel for hotels, flights, et cetera. And then one of the larger changes that's being proposed is really addressing some challenges we had with the timeliness of submissions. And so there is a proposal in here to address some concerns around IRS treatment of certain reimbursements. I think those are the three main areas where we could see actual significant financial impact here.
Yep. First Vice Chair Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Kroll. That I was going to reemphasize that point from my corporate days of expenses. Some of this is driven by the IRS and tax law, either changes or how the IRS is enforcing the tax law related to expenses. For instance, they didn't used to care that much about the timeliness of expenses, and now there's been at least some discussion over, say, the last, 5 years, about the longer an expense goes unexpensed, the more it looks like compensation to the IRS, and the records get a little bit spottier going on throughout the year. So I think I totally agree brevity is better, 100%, but a lot of the guidance that we're getting is directly related to liability or risk that we might be picking up as directors if the policy is not clear about it. So that's another part of it.
Thank you. Dr. Risha?
Thank you, sir. I have a clarifying question. So in reading this document, will the chair still have the final say on these matters, or are we ceding authority to the board office on this? And I just want to be forthright. There was a scenario in which I had to cancel a trip because I was in the hospital. I provided documentation, and then the board office told me the next time I requested something, I would have to front $900 to go. I wasn't able to go, and by the time I got the chair to intervene, it was too late, and some folks enjoyed the National Western Stock Vote, and I stayed home. So I just wanted to understand, are we changing the authority of those on the executive committee? Are we ceding authority, or are we just providing some guidance?
So the policy does indicate that, you know, if you're not going to submit your travel request at least 30 days in advance, that the preference is to have directors purchase those travel trips up front and then be reimbursed on the back end. And that's an encouragement for directors to plan early. All travel and reimbursement requests, however, are still approved by the chair, with the one exception being that director expense reimbursement requests submitted more than 30 days after the quarterly deadline will need to be approved by the CFO, but that is for purposes primarily of ensuring compliance with IRS and that reimbursement is treated appropriately per IRS guidelines.
May I offer an amendment, sir? So I would like to move to amend, and I think staff can make conforming language, that the language regarding the hard and fast rule on the 30 days is guidance and not a strict rule. Sometimes there are reasons why a director might not have an exact flight time, particularly those juggling families, pets, jobs. And I think it is quite inequitable to ask people to front what could be, you know, a couple $1,000s just to do their jobs. So I would just like to move that we make that guidance, but not a rule, so we can encourage that behavior, but we don't penalize people when life happens. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Director Harwick is the second, Rusha is the mover. Could you say the amendment just for one more time in regards to,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
before we vote?
Oh, sorry, may Thank you, Mr. Chair. I suggest that staff could make conforming language. As I think it would take more than a minute to strike through. We've done that in the past in this body. Would that be acceptable to you? I mean, I can clearly restate what the intent was. Would that be okay with you, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, if you could restate the intent.
So just the intent is that the 30-day advance notice or else directors have to front the funds themselves is merely guidance, not a hard and fast rule.
Okay.
It would be at the chair's discretion.
Director Chandler?
Just a clarifying question, are you talking about travel only, 30 days on travel only?
Director Rusha?
You know, I flagged travel because that's the costliest one. But I think that's a really good point, Director Chandler. I certainly would be open to feedback if we need to make that more broad. Sometimes we're not even notified of events with a 30-day notice, now that I think about it.
Yeah, Director Nicholson?
So just to understand, I mean, if let's say there is an event that I find out about that's 15 days from now and I need to fly to it, can I get the permit, like, is it possible to get permission from the chair in order to get approval to spend the money that way? Or is there literally no mechanism for a last minute event to book travel? I mean, I went to CML this year, for example, and it was about a month away, maybe a little bit more. So I guess I just need to understand, like, could I, in that situation, go to the board office, go to you or whoever's next, and get approval, or is it I would have to pay out of my pocket in that situation? Maybe that's a question for Mr. Kroll.
So there are two specific clauses in here, there are sentences in here that I draw everyone's attention to. I'm looking at packet page 326, section 3.2, travel arrangement process. And there is a clause in here that indicates directors should have a pre-travel authorization on file with the board office at least 30 days in advance. And then where the hard and fast comes in is several paragraphs down from that. There's a paragraph that begins with the word for trips with pre-travel authorization approved less than 30 days before the scheduled trip are only eligible for reimbursement. Directors must purchase airfare and hotel up front and then be reimbursed after their return. So if Director Rusha's intent is to make it not a hard and fast, we would strike that language and simply retain the language above that says directors should have pre-travel authorization on file with the board office at least 30 days in advance.
Yeah, Secretary.
I'd like to amend Director Rusha's amendment. Actually, I take it back. Never mind. I'll follow up to that.
Okay. Any further discussion regarding Director Rusha's amendment? Okay. Let's do a roll call. Oh, yeah, Director Rusha.
Oh, no, sorry.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
Director Chandler.
Just to be clear then, with that sentence, for trips with pre-travel authorization approved less than 30 days before the scheduled trip are only eligible for reimbursement. Directors must purchase airfare and hotel up front and then be reimbursed after their return. That two sentences would be stricken, and then the sentence that already says directors should have a pre-traveled authorization on file with board office at least 30 days in advance supersedes that, because they are sort of in conflict. To Director Rusha's point, that one is a should and the other one is a you must.
Secretary?
So, I mean, I would say that the right solution here is basically do it 30 days in advance or get the approval of the chair. I think there are going to be situations where there's going to be last minute travel. I don't think asking people to front that themselves is the right solution, but I also think that, you don't want to have people just going to board staff and being like, hey, book this with 15 days in advance. And so having the chair as a backstop to that strikes me as a good, not compromise, but solution instead of just saying, let's continue doing things the way we are. But so that's why I'm not going to make a motion on this, because we would have to defeat this, and then I'll move to add the or the chair language.
You want to, yeah, Director Ruscia?
Thanks. Oh, I was going to say, Secretary Nicholson, I think that'd be a friendly amendment if you wanted to offer it. It would be fine. But I also just realized, I apologize, now I have a question. What if someone's travel plans change? Are they going to be penalized somehow? Sometimes that's also a valid reason. This is what I mean by, like, I understand we don't want to burden the board office unnecessarily, and we don't want to waste funds, but life does happen. We are primarily volunteers, and I'm just worried about unintended consequences. And I also just want to remind folks that it wasn't too long ago on this board, directors were expected to front the costs of their travel and get reimbursed later. And, directors fought to change that for equity purposes, because not everybody has those funds. So I guess that was a question. And then Secretary Nicholson, if you wanted to make that amendment, I would consider it friendly, and it might be cleaner.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if we want to do it as friendly amendment, I would just.
Secretary Nicholson?
My apologies.
Secretary Nicholson, you're recognized.
Would just be to strike what Director Ruscia was suggesting, and I forget exactly how you phrased it, because I want to leave all the language there and just add, instead of saying to get the 30 days in advance, or pay for it yourself, or with the permission of the chair. So I was hoping, Mr. Kroll, you've got the language up in front of you. If you can, I think you understand the intent of my amendment.
Yeah, I think the way to accommodate is to leave in the two sentences and then simply add at the end of the second sentence there, directors must purchase airfare and hotel up front and then be reimbursed after return unless, approved by the chair.
Is that the intent?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Director Chandler.
Does that also apply to the next sentence? It says, if a director cancels their trip, any airline, conference, or hotel cancellation penalties will be deducted from their travel and or conference registration fee account. And to Director Ruscia's point, if a director cancels, there is an opportunity that you have to cancel for a real reason. There is, as pointed out, life happens. So I would also ask that also be subject to the chair's discretion. That sentence be added into the chair's discretion.
You okay with
I
that?
accept it, yeah.
Accept it? Okay. All on the same board? Yeah.
We have a question of clarification here in the board office. So for example, if a director cancels a trip and the agency is then out, let's say $1,000 for the registration fee, who bears the cost of that? What is your intent?
Director Chandler?
I think that the director should try to appeal to whatever agency is charging them that cancellation fee. Oftentimes, if you send, like if you're in the hospital, to Director Ruscia's point, you send them a note, many of them will say, hey, we'll waive that fee. You'll still end up paying for the actual trip itself, and I think that can be worked out with the chairman. But, I think we all need to be reasonable. And I think that's the key word here is, right, we're all trying to do the right thing, and we need to expect everyone to do the right thing and to be reasonable in their expectation.
If I can just jump in on that with my interpretation, it's basically, that would come out of the director's budget unless it was approved by the chair to write it off, essentially. So the default is it comes out of your budget. You can ask the chair and say, hey, this was waived because my grandmother died and whatever, and then maybe they would approve it, but otherwise it comes out of your budget.
Ms. Parrish?
So where is that money coming from if the chair waives it? Who's paying
Secretary.
for that?
I believe the board has a discretionary budget, is that correct? No, there's no, so I guess no, so then it would come, obviously it would come out of your, if you're, I guess by definition, it would have to come out of your thing, because you'd be spending the money anyway, basically. So yeah, it would come out of your, it would have to come out of your board budget anyway. So yeah, I guess that's a fair, very fair point, thank you. So I don't think there's not really a way for us to
Coming out of your
move it around,
coming out of your
essentially.
budget, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, up to you, Director Chandler, but I think that's a reasonable point.
Rusha, and then Chandler.
I think we can leave the language, how it's been worked out between myself, Secretary Nicholson, and Director Chandler, simply because our budgets change from year to year. So we had discretionary board budget last year, maybe not this year, it might come back next year. So I think for the sake of simplicity, but it still works.
Okay.
Still works. The money's there, it'd be at the chair's discretion. And then we
Director
don't
Gu-
have to amend it again next year.
Director Guzman, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I would be okay with the original one. I am disinclined to vote for this amendment if we're going to not have a place to charge those fees. If a cancellation occurs, for whatever reason, I understand the unintended consequences, money may have to be paid. But where does that money come from is a real question, and that should come from the individual director's account. And then the individual director has an onus to try and get those fees waived and reimbursed to the agency, to their account. But that's not work that the board office staff should be doing on behalf of the individual who had to cancel for whatever reason they had to cancel. And sometimes it's much more simple. They just decide at the last minute they don't want to go, and there's nothing to be waived. So they have paid for a trip they are not going to take. Thus, they are being penalized because they have used funds that they otherwise would have put to good use for the public good. I'm fine with asking permission from the chair within 30 days for help to be able to do the traveling bit and set up the hotel costs. But anything that comes to a cancellation, that has to be charged to an account. And there's no account to charge it to if you're only doing it at chair's discretion. I would not count on there being an additional pocket of money somewhere where we could charge a write-off to, I don't even know what that means, because that would be an inappropriate use of public funds. So I think we need to do a bit of a better accounting job there.
I feel like
think we
we've
should move back to chair approving within the 30 days and leave it at that if you're going to make that amendment, or take a vote and let's move forward.
Directors, I feel like we've exhausted conversation regarding this amendment, so let's take a vote regarding,
Do you want me to just clarify it? Since it's
quickly.
So it would just be exactly what Director Guzman just said, which is if you want travel within 30 days, you need the chair's approval or you have to pay for it yourself.
Okay,
Okay.
does that clear?
We just are cutting that language, so, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what, yeah, exactly. Cutting the change, yes. So, the only thing.
okay, we're doing a roll call vote in regarding to the amendment. Banker,
Yes.
Busick,
Yes.
Chandler,
Yes.
Geisinger,
Yes.
Guccianator,
No.
Guzman,
Yes.
Harwick,
Yep.
Larson,
No.
Nicholson,
Yes.
O'Keefe,
Yes.
Pagliari,
Yes.
Rusha,
Yes.
Whitmore.
Yes.
I'm a no, but it will pass 11 to 3. Okay, back to the main motion as amended. Do we have any further conversation or discussion? Are there any no votes regarding the motion as amended? Okay, seeing none, that'll pass 14 to 0. Moving on now to item J. This is the board collaboration tool pilot. Directors, do we have any comments regarding this? Director Gutschner.
I just have a question about considering extending the pilot window. Like, I think right now we have it at 1 month, is that right?
That's correct.
I just think that's a pretty tight window to have sufficient sample.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Kroll?
If I may, Director Gucci-Ritter address the timeline there. The timeline was selected because of the topic under consideration is the board's committee work plans. And the bylaws for the approval of the board's committee work plans indicate that each committee should have their work plans approved by the end of March each year. And so that's where the window comes in, if that makes sense. And you know, certainly, you know, if the conversation goes well, and I think Director Nicholson could speak to this, you know, the plan would be, if this tool is effective, to bring back additional items to use the tool for.
I'll just take chair's privilege in that. I think it's an excellent idea when it comes to planning these work plans. It was kind of a pain to try to collect information regarding a Microsoft form. And I think this is a good test of it. And if it is successful, I think it's something that we look into furthering. I'm just curious what else we could, you know, potentially use it for. So I guess that would be my question behind it. So, okay.
Yeah, if I can. Mr. Chair? Jesus Christ.
Yes, Secretary.
Sorry, my language there. Yeah, I would just say, you know, I think that we are going to want to test this out on a project-by-project basis. I don't think that we're tomorrow going to, you know, we're going to do one of these and then be like, oh my God, we're going to deploy it for every single discussion we have. We want to make sure that this is workable, that people are using it, that it, you know, meets our expectations and fits with what we're trying to do with it. So I wouldn't necessarily think of it as pilot and then, oh my God, it takes over the agency, but more, this is the first pilot, and there will probably be a second one.
Per
a third
project.
one.
That's
Yes,
a great,
exactly.
Great comment. Director Gutierrez, does that help clarify? Excellent. Are there any no votes on this? Excuse me, is there any more discussion on this?
Just
Director Risha.
Yes, so will we have to use a specific tool designated by the agency or the board office, or could we use any tool that complies with OML and that is properly noticed? That's just a clarifying question.
From my understanding, and sorry to jump in, it will be a tool provided by the agency. And it's the main reason behind that is it will actually be listed on one of our websites, and then our constituents can actually see what our communication is.
Okay.
Yeah? I think it's a beautiful tool. A lot of people are saying that.
I think it's time for.
Are there any no votes on this? All right, seeing none, it will pass 14-0. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 8:17.
Well, this is better than that, so.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. Well, I was very, very busy with work, but I didn't find the time to even like work with paper was there. No,
Mike, can you hear us? Quick sound check.
Yes, I can hear you. Everything sounds
Great.
fine.
Thank you.
I have 500 and at some point I'm probably going to wait for it to go. Yes. Let's sit down. I know. Sounds useful, maybe.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's make our seats come towards you with the power of free will. All right, we're back, folks. We're moving on to K, which is our director expense allocation reductions for the fiscal year of 2026. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Whitmore is the mover. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have Director Guchenritter as a second. Any discussion on this? Yeah, Director Guzman.
Although I appreciate the thought that went into this, I do have a problem with taking the 10% off of the tech budget as it was amended in the executive committee. I understand for simplicity. However, I wouldn't have the tech costs that I incur as a director if I wasn't a director. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's $14 on the total amount, but that left a sour taste in my mouth. And it is for the purpose of serving the community and doing the job. So I'm just going to say that.
Okay. Any further comments? Yes, Director Risha.
Yeah, so I respect the theme here, except that I mean, I just concur. I think this is like an equity issue. These funds are for us to do our constituent outreach, which is also part of our board goals that we emphasize and reinforce at the beginning of the year. I did over 20 events this year, and I will be $400 in the hole that came out of my pocket. So, you know, this also affects different directors just based on their location, how much ridership they have, if they have additional expenses like regarding ADA or language access. And, you know, even if you think you're not going to use all your local budget this year, it might be different next year. So I think if individual directors want to give $100 or $200 back to the agency, they can, but we shouldn't impose that on others who are doing the best they can with what they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Nicholson?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, I think if we can ask the disability community to make millions of dollars in cuts to a program that they depend on, then we can ask of ourselves to make 10% in cuts to funds that allow us to, you know, I still think we can do a very, very good job with 90% of the money. And I think if we're asking staff to take a 0% increase, admittedly with the, you know, it would be insulting for us not to make a cut here.
Any further comments or questions? Good. I will actually be a no on this. I was a no in executive committee. I believe what was originally proposed was a little bit more ambitious, and that doesn't align with that. But that's okay. We live in a democracy, and I'm probably going to get outvoted, but that's all right. Let's do a roll call vote. Treasurer Banker.
Yes.
Director Busick.
Yep.
Director Chandler.
Yes.
Director Geisinger.
Yep.
Director Guchenritter.
Yes.
Director Guzman.
Nope.
Director Harwick.
Yes.
Director Larson.
Yes.
Director Nicholson.
Yes.
Director O'Keefe.
Yes.
Director Pagliari.
No.
Director Risha.
No.
And Director Whitmore.
I agree with Mr. Chair's statements, but I am a yes vote.
Good. So that will pass 10, 4, and 0 absence. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to the January 2026 service change. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Guzman is the mover. Do we have a second? Okay, Gutierrez is a second. Any discussion regarding this?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Secretary.
Yes, so this is a question, one of the, I will say the holiday train has been one of the most exciting things that I have heard about recently from constituents and members of the, community. And I guess I have a question for our wonderful head of rail operations, which is, why can't we keep it? What's the challenge involved in connecting, the L line to the main stick? And I know we're getting rid of it, but can you talk to me about why we didn't keep that around?
GMCO Johnson.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the question, Secretary Nicholson. I'm taking the question as it relates to the downtown rail reconstruction, the work that we have planned as it relates to the multifaceted approach that this board approved as we go forward that goes through 2027. Hence, the holiday train was leveraged because we did not want to have the track sitting there idly. And we, as you heard this evening, were creative relative to understanding that our frontline colleagues had already done their bid shifts and things of the like, and so we're leveraging extra board as we move forward. We may not have capacity, but we are committed to looking at what it is that we can do as we balance the need of asset renewal as well as service delivery. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary, good?
I would just say thank you to staff for putting in the work to make that happen. And, on behalf of some of my friends out in GDT, if there are things we can do to better connect the L, I'm sure that bringing this back next year or in some other form would be greatly appreciated.
Bless you. Any further comments or discussion regarding this item? Are there any no votes on this service change? Okay, seeing none, it will pass 14-0. We now move on to item M, which is the 2026 debt defeasance for our Fast Tracks bonds. Do we have, I know, do we have a mover?
I'll move that.
Okay, Guzman is the mover. Do we have a second?
Second.
And Palieri is a second. Any questions about this one? Or comments or discussions? Okay. Are there going to be any no votes on this?
Yes.
Director Banker, you're going to be a no vote?
Yes, there's a no vote.
Okay. Are there any further no votes? Okay. Director Chandler?
Sorry, we're on to defeasance. I'm also a no.
Let's do a roll call. Okay. Director Banker?
No.
Director Busick?
Yes.
Director Chandler?
No.
Director Geisinger?
Yes.
Director Gutschnitter?
Yes.
Director Guzman?
Yes.
Director Harwick?
Yes.
Director Larson?
Yes.
Director Nicholson?
No.
Director O'Keefe?
Yes.
Director Palieri?
Yes.
Director Rusha?
Yes.
Director Whitmore?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. It'll pass 11 yes, 3 no's. Okay, moving on to our next, which is going to be the certificates of participation. Any discussion regarding this? No votes? Okay. Oh, excuse me. I am so sorry. A mover. I'm sorry. Mover. Guzman, second. Rusha. Discussion. Okay, indicated there are no votes. I will do another roll call. Banker.
No.
Busick.
Yes.
Sorry. Chandler.
No.
Geisinger.
Yes.
Gutschmider.
Is this on the cops?
Yes.
Okay. I'm yes.
Yes. Guzman.
Yes.
Harwick.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Nicholson.
No.
O'Keefe.
Yes.
Palieri.
Yes.
Rusha.
Yes.
Whitmore.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. That'll pass 11-3. Okay, next item is the long-range financial plan. Do we have a mover on that? Guzman, do we have a second?
Second.
And Whitmore is a second. Discussion about this?
Yep.
Yes, Secretary.
Yeah, so I would just like to, reiterate like Cato at the end of his Senate speeches, this is our doom if we don't do something about it. The numbers in here scare me scare me significantly, sorry. At the end of the day, if we don't have a plan in the next year, 18 months, we're going to be staring down cutting all of bus service based on just the numbers that are in that document. And I'm not willing to do that. So, I think we need to take this like climate change seriously and recognize that it's not here today, but it is very much on the horizon, that we do not have the money to pay our bills come the end of my second term, assuming I win re-election. Thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion? Director Banker?
There are many issues with this. Again, it's hard to look into a crystal ball and try to figure out what's going to happen in 2055. But my biggest issue, at least at the moment, is the financing proceeds for the next 5 years, where we still have the $539 million that are assumed to be COPs for bus purchases. That, to me, means a very full board discussion. And so my preference, I'm going to be a no vote, my preference is that we just postpone it and look at it in January, February, and see if we can rework the numbers a little bit to see if they're more satisfactory to what the board desires. So
Thank you, Treasurer.
that's it.
Director Geisinger?
Thanks. Yeah, you may have seen the question I sent to Ms. Johnson today and the response, and I appreciate that, Dr. Cog is waiting for it, but I don't understand. We decided not to move forward on the 5-year financial forecast. So then how do we take that and submit it as a document of the agency? It just doesn't make sense to me. And so I think, I will certainly be a no vote. I think if it's filed, if it should not just say subject to change, but should say the board has not approved this and it may be changed in the future. And I can make that amendment if you want, or I can just vote no. I guess I'll make that amendment. If it really needs to be filed, I would make a move to amend it to say that it states specifically the board has not approved this long-range plan.
Yeah, Mr. Kroll.
I think Director Geisinger, I think what you're intending to say is that the board has not approved the 5-year financial forecast that is included as a component of the plan. I don't think you can indicate on the document that okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay. Geisinger is the mover, and then Banker is the second regarding the amendment. Any discussion regarding this amendment? Director Guzman?
How long are we going to delay doing our work, right? Sorry, that's the honest question. You sent the 5 back. We talked about it. You delayed the 5. This is another financial forecast plan that goes out even further, and we want to kick it down the road and kick it down the road and kick it down the road. Like, we need to make a determination at some point about what we are doing so we can have some clarity. Right now, I understand the concern, right? But our plans affect other people in the region, and by delaying making decisions that we find distasteful does not help anybody. At least if we have a base from which to work, which we can come back and we can address, and we have the authority to change our budget in the middle of the year, I don't understand why we wouldn't be able to approve an updated version of this and submit it to Dr. Cog, to the Senate, to the House, to whoever wants it. Why are we delaying? It just seems like it's an excuse to not take responsibility for what we know is coming. And so at this point, I would say, although I understand the reticence with not having the 5 done, that led to the budget we passed. This is an outlook so we can have an honest and frank conversation about where we are. And the financing proceeds being one small piece of this, there's a lot more in the next 10 years that we should be looking at going out further. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out y'all, like, what are we doing? Why are we continuing to delay?
Thank you, Director Guzman. Director Larson.
Yeah, I agree with Director Guzman. I mean, this is a best guess for right now. It's going to change, periodically, probably every year. We don't, it's 15 more people spending a bunch more time, hashing it over, I don't think is going to make a huge amount of difference, and it's just going to change again anyways. I think we need to move forward and accept that, this is the best guess for right now, and it doesn't commit us to anything. It doesn't, it sends an important message that we should be sending as soon as possible, that there is some things on the horizon that we need to figure out. I think that's the key thing that we need to communicate. The exact numbers, the exact details are not really that important. It's the overall message that it sends, and I think we should send that as soon as we can.
Thank you. Director Geisinger?
Yeah, the Finance and Planning Committee in this case took this off the agenda and said we're going to do it later. And so then to rely on this, where it really, it has over $500 million in debt financing. That's a huge decision. So if the Finance and Planning Committee and this board are not going to make a decision on that, I really think it's inappropriate to put it out there to the public as something we've approved.
Director Risha and then Nicholson.
Thank you, sir. I concur with Director Geisinger, and it does feel like a little bit of cart before the horse, but I also just want to point out that both the FIFE and the long-range financial plan that's before us, they are policy documents. So $500 million in loans, that is policy. Raising fares, which is part of the forecast, that is policy. There are other matters in these documents that directly tie to the heart and soul of what we as a board do, and I would much rather that we slow down and put in a little bit of extra work and feel good about what we pass than pass something for the sake of passing it. And so I would encourage whomever is our chair and whomever is on executive next month to pull together a fiscal or financial retreat like the board used to have, so that we can discuss these matters in full. Finally, I will note, I can't speak for other directors, but I was a director who did ask for a couple of alternative number scenarios. I think my answer went to the rest of the board. It was a little high level, wasn't as detailed as I wanted, but I know that there are some of us who would like to see some alternative numbers run, because again, these are big policy questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Director Nicholson and then Director Baker.
So I agree with Director Geisinger, and I agree with Director Guzman, which is to say that this is information we need to pass along. It is a message we need to send. It is extraordinarily important, and I think we send it perfectly clearly by saying, here is our long-range forecast. We have approved this. There is a component of it, the 5-year financial forecast, that we are still working on, but we like the rest of the document and we want you to see the rest of the document, so we're just putting this note down here to say, this part, there be dragons, but the rest of it, pay attention to. I think that's a reasonable thing to send to them, and I think it's an honest statement of where we're at right now, and I'd rather give that to them than say, well, we're not going to tell you anything for, a couple months and, do what you're going to do. I don't think that's the right approach. So I agree with Director Geisinger's amendment, and I think we should move it forward.
Director Baker.
My biggest concern is that $539 million, that if we were to agree to it, I just do not want our staff then to assume that we are okay with $500 million bus purchases for the next 5 years without a full discussion of our board, and we understand what we would be voting on if we went forward with the $539 million. That's my biggest issue. So your amendment to this, where we would relook at the 5-year plan, which we did talk about in the Finance Committee, because we set it aside. We said, we don't agree with these numbers. We need a fuller discussion. And then, here it is again. I was, in fact, I called Mr. Kroll today asking, how did this get back on the agenda? Because I thought we had postponed it for like January, February of next year. So I would support your amendment. If the board desires that we reopen this in the next couple of months and look at the assumptions, and we do have a full discussion about that $539 million, then, then we're doing it with our eyes open.
Thank you, Director Banker. All right, I'm going to move on to a roll call vote in regards to the amendment that Director Geisinger brought forward. Director Banker?
Yes.
Director Busick?
Yes.
Director Chandler?
Yes.
Director Geisinger?
Yes.
Director Guccinetter?
Yes.
Director Guzman?
Nope.
Director Harwick?
No.
Director Larson?
No.
Director Nicholson?
Yes.
Director O'Keefe?
Yes.
Director Palieri?
Yes.
Director Risha?
Yes.
Director Whitmore?
No.
I'm also a no, but it will pass 9-5. Okay, back to the main motion as amended. Any further comment or discussion regarding the main motion? Are there any no votes regarding the main motion as amended? Okay, seeing none, that'll pass 14-0. And I think that was our last recommended action, so that was quite a bit. Okay, moving on to director activities. Does anyone have anything to report? Yeah, Director Guzman.
Santa came to DUS. We lit it up. It's beautiful. Stop by, say hello, check out the tree in the Great Hall. It's kind of a fun place, Denver Union Station. It's worth the ride on the rails. And if you are going to the Christ Kindle Market at Auraria campus, please, please, please avail yourself of a $2.75 fare to go right to the Auraria campus stop and walk a block to be on the quad. Take the 52 and walk across the street. The 19, I don't even know all the rest of the numbers, but there's like 8 buses and 2 trains that go right by there. Now that Calumet's open, it's actually probably 3 trains that go right by there. And with the holiday train, go visit 5 Points and support our local businesses along Colfax this holiday season. Buy local. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Director Nicholson, briefly.
Yep. So I have a town hall tomorrow at 6 p.m. At Christ Church United Methodist on Colorado Boulevard. It is extraordinarily transit accessible via the 6 or the 40, and for the 5 of you watching on Zoom, you should come. So looking forward to seeing everybody there. We have a lot of RSVPs already, and hopefully the snow doesn't turn too many people away.
Very good. Okay. Other matters? Yes, Director Risha.
Mr. Chair, would it be okay if because I wasn't here earlier, if I say a few words about, thank you. Sorry, I'm gonna try not to cry. So I apologize for not being available earlier, but I just wanted to say a few words about Senator Winter. I knew her for 10 years. Faith was a person who loved her family, her children, her dogs, the planet, and all living things. For those of you who might not be aware, she was a tireless advocate, not just for transit, but also our planet, and dedicated her entire adult life to addressing climate change, amongst other things. In the halls of the Capitol, if she was on your side, you had good odds. If she was your opponent, it was going to be a day. But she always came around after and stayed your friend. I'm going to miss Faith, and I think when folks are taken from us like that, it's a reminder to hug the ones you love, and be kind. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Risha. Are there any further other matters? Secretary Nicholson, briefly.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if people, when we were going to do this, but I wanted to let other people go first. Faith Winter dedicated her professional career to public transit. She was kind, thoughtful, hardworking, and relentless. She accomplished more in her time than any of us could hope to in ours. Even when I made her life difficult, she treated me with decency and she listened. She surmounted repeated challenges to become Assistant Majority Leader and Chair of the Senate Transportation Committee. She passed the state's first major permanent funding for public transportation. She was a fighter. Thinking about her this week, I was reminded of some lines from Tennyson that I learned early in my political career. I am a part of all that I have met. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved heaven and earth, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. Are there any further other matters? I have one. Okay, I'm going to reserve then myself as the last word, because this is my final report as your chair. And I would want to just take the proper time to acknowledge those in this room who have done so much to move this agency forward. I'd like to thank, first off, Directors Guzman, Ruscha, Harwick, and Busick for leading the charge as our chairs of our respective committees. Without the extra time and effort that you've all put into your committees, we would not have accomplished the needed policy items to better this agency. I'd like to say a thank you to my fellow executive committee members, Secretary Nicholson, Treasurer Banker, Second Vice Chair Whitmore, and First Vice Chair O'Keefe for being the needed support during my chairmanship. I'd like to also deeply thank Jack, Taishrei, Jillian, Marie for everything that you have done to support this board of directors during a very active transition period. You've truly been the lifeline between us and the rest of the agency. And I know personally I could not have done my job without everything you have done and provided, and I'm deeply grateful. I'd like to say a thank you to GMCO Johnson and her executive leadership team for being the needed operators to drive the agency of RTD forward in 2025. All of you should take an enormous amount of pride in what we've been able to accomplish this year. I've greatly appreciated the partnership that I've formed with you, Ms. Johnson, and your team. You've respected the wishes of this board, and I thank you for that. Finally, and most importantly, I'd like to thank all of our RTD employees, our customers, and our stakeholders for continuing to be supportive and loyal to this agency. You're truly the ones in the trenches, battling for the survival of public transportation here in Colorado. And we as an agency continue to face harsh waves of uncertainty. We're reminded that a public good like RTD can be eroded by pressures of misconceptions, falsehoods, and a lack of faith in the public works. And therefore, all of us, operators, employees, customers, elected officials, need to continue to do what we hold dear, and that is to continue to make lives better through connections. So I wanted to thank you all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be your chair. I feel like I've been doing it for 10 years, and it feels like yesterday that I've been doing it. But I thank you, and I'm honored by all of you. With that being said, now for those watching on Zoom, if you want a little bonus episode of Chair Bouquet chairing a committee, tune in next Tuesday, because we do have our special meeting. And so as a reminder for anyone listening and participating remotely, our last regular scheduled board meeting of the year has just happened. We're scheduled to host a study session next Tuesday with the Front Range Passenger Rail, along with the guests of the state of Colorado to discuss updates regarding Front Range Passenger Rail as related. Also, District N will have a new representation in 2026, and we hope to swear in that appointee at our first meeting in Tuesday, January 6, 2026. And at that meeting, we will also elect members of the Executive Committee and take an action to designate our official meeting posting location. With that being said, I'll take a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.